everybody. Call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and as amended as of March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy by remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene, formerly known as pac-tv. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by watching Duxbury Government Access channels, which are Verizon 39 or Comcast 9. Viewers can visit thelocalscene.media/Duxbury for information about Duxbury programming, including streaming and watching replays on Duxbury YouTube. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is open forum. Anything from the board?
Nothing tonight.
Okay.
I have nothing, Brian.
Great, thanks. Are we okay with pac-tv? It looks like we're frozen on the screen. Just want to make sure everybody at home can see us.
I can see you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you okay, but
Oh, okay.
the screen appears to be frozen.
You are not frozen
Okay.
to me.
I'll just give it a second here before we dive in. Want to make sure everything's working okay. All right, all good? Okay, thank you. All right, Fernando, anything for open forum? Okay, great. I have a few things this evening. One, congratulations to Livable Duxbury's Transportation Work Group for the completion of the accessible picnic table project at Shipyard Lane Beach. While the picnic table may sound simple, the overall project was not. It involved environmental permitting, the construction of a new concrete pad, relocation of a guardrail, and the acquisition and assembly of a large, heavy, and expensive table. Many people came together to see this project through, and I'd like to recognize especially the work group chair, Penny Herlihy, and members of the working group, Elizabeth Boak, Angela Constantino, Bob Dame, Benita Hughes, Casey Seaman, Marina Shmatikov, Sheila Teneglia, Fred Von Bargen, and Lauren Wahlberg, along with Senior Center Director Joanne Moore. Friends of the Council on Aging also provided important financial support. DPW, as always, showed up to help in a very important way. Jim Savonin and Dave Verity in particular, Freeman Boynton and Duxbury Construction, Dennis Bent and Bent and Son Cement, Frank Teneglia and Nancy Rufo of the Conservation Department. So you see, just to get one accessible bench out there for everybody to enjoy, there was a lot of work. So thanks to everybody, and please do go enjoy it. It's at Shipyard Lane Beach. Continuing with Livable Duxbury, the Phase 2 draft has been released and is available online at duxburyseniorcenter.org. There is a link to click on Livable Duxbury Action Plan Phase 2 Draft. And I raise this because the group will be hosting 2 community forums in the upcoming weeks. The first on September 22nd at 10 a.m. and the second on September 30 at 6:30 p.m. at the Duxbury Senior Center. Congratulations to everyone who was involved in making the Harbor Walk a reality. Friday's ribbon cutting at the Royal and Historical Society was a great event and very well attended. Similarly, a job well done to everyone involved in Saturday's 5th Annual Historic Preservation Day. In addition to a guest speaker, there were free open houses. I think, Fernando, yours was one of them. And historic boat tours. Thanks to Ed, sitting in our front row. Many groups were involved in making it happen, including the town, the Historic District Commission, the Royal and Historical Society, the Maritime School, and Duxbury Yacht Club, which incidentally just celebrated its 150th birthday over the weekend. Happy birthday. And finally, the Duxbury Chamber of Commerce has expressed interest in building a stronger relationship with the town. To that end, I'll be attending the Chamber's upcoming meeting on September 24th to learn more about potential opportunities of how the town can support local businesses. My colleagues here on the board are all welcome to join me, but in any event, I'll be sure to share what I learn with the Select Board in an upcoming meeting.
Thank you.
Do we have anything open forum from the public? Things that are not on our agenda, things on your mind you'd like to share with us? If you can go right up to the microphone, and Ed, we know you, but if you can introduce yourself for the record, please.
How you doing? Ed Mayo with the Duxbury Historical Commission. That's who I'm speaking on behalf of tonight. We had two volunteers that I'd like to recognize. Jack Newman and Deborah Bruno were able to digitize all the Historical Commission records going back to 1975.
Oh, wow.
And what we're going to do with them, now that they're all basically on one hard drive, is we're going to try to implement them into the permitting software, and we're working with building services to do that. So I would like to recognize them and thank them.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, we appreciate all our terrific volunteers in town, of which there are many.
Mr. Chair, could I add something to open forum?
Please.
I want to forget to mention, I've had some communication regarding past concerns about a noise ordinance in town. And the individual I spoke to would very much like to get back on our agenda, get back on the radar, and start the conversation, come in and speak with us about it. So if we could, I don't know where we're at, we still have a kind of a running a platter list. If we could put that back on the list and get it scheduled, that would be great. Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the public? Open forum.
Yes, I'd like to.
Right to the microphone, please. We can hear you in the room, but the microphone is to the folks at home. If you can introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Maureen Caruso. I'm here to speak tonight on the Powder Point project, the bridge.
Okay,
That-
we will be discussing that and
Should I
and
not
taking
discuss
public
it
input.
now?
You're welcome to speak now, but we will be taking it up in a little bit.
Okay, shall I wait then?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Anything else from the public, things that are not on our agenda this evening? Okay. First item on our agenda this evening, or the next item, excuse me, first new business item, is discussion pertaining to the MBTA Advisory Board, and I'll provide some introductory remarks on this. The MBTA Advisory Board was created by the legislature and plays a role in the planning and allocation of funds for MBTA operations and capital projects. The board is comprised of the chief elected official or the designee of each of the 178 listed cities and towns. Duxbury is a member of the advisory board because it is defined in the law as an other served community, similar to Kingston, Marshfield, Pembroke, and Plymouth. The advisory board's mission is to provide public oversight of the MBTA on behalf of the 178 member communities and the transit riding public. The MBTA advisory board provides policy guidance to the MBTA with the shared goal to provide effective and efficient transportation services in the metropolitan Boston area. The advisory board has an executive committee and 9 substantive committees. In addition to being an active member on the general advisory board, Duxbury has also been a member for many years on the passenger and regional rail, or formerly known as the commuter rail committee. You may recall that my predecessor on the board, Rich Prone, was a retired train engineer and provided significant input to this committee. On Duxbury's behalf, I currently serve as the vice chair of this committee. And joining us tonight remotely is the executive director of the advisory board, Brian Kane. He's been visiting with member cities and towns for a while now and is making his way to Duxbury remotely. And he's going to provide some thoughts on the advisory board and what it's currently working on. Brian, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair Glenn, and I really appreciate the invitation.
Glad to have you.
So again, and let me also just share my thanks to all of you. Local government runs on volunteerism in Massachusetts, and it's only, as you said earlier when I was listening, it really is volunteers that make our municipalities work. Very grateful to everyone who volunteers, and as a local government volunteer myself in the town I live in, it's nice to hear it, so thank you, everybody. Brian, I think you're underplaying your role here a little bit. I can very honestly say that the town of Duxbury's designees to the MBTA Advisory Board have consistently punched above their weight in the last 5 to 10 years. Richard Prone was a powerhouse in and of himself. I don't think he single-handedly, but he more or less individually convinced the MBTA's Board of Directors to introduce the $10 weekend pass, which has been a phenomenal success, and in many ways is responsible for the return of ridership on the commuter rail, which accounts for the MBTA having the fastest and best ridership return on the mode of commuter rail within the United States. So we're very grateful to Mr. Perone. We're very grateful to you, Chair Glennon, for the work that you do on our passenger rail committee, which is what Duxbury sort of utilizes in terms of the MBTA. Obviously, you're not a directly connected community. You mentioned you're a community that abuts with stations nearby. So as you mentioned, I have been visiting virtually and in person cities and towns. I think we've been to 40 communities in the last year, just to sort of introduce ourselves, let folks know that the MBTA Advisory Board is here as a partner to work for them, and also to introduce ourselves and what we do. You mentioned our sort of statutory role. In addition, I served on the Governor's Transportation Task Force in 2024. We just issued our report earlier this year, very successfully. I think that helped lead to significant increases in revenue for the T and for transportation infrastructure across the region, which is very important. And transportation, while we break it up modally, sort of public transportation, roads, bridges, it's all related. All of us utilize different modes of transportation every day to move around our communities, move around this Commonwealth, move around this region, move around this nation. And it all has to get paid for somehow. So we're very grateful to the legislature and to the governor for allocating additional resources to transportation in the last budget. I want to mention you have a great set of elected representatives in Rep. Cutler and Senator O'Connor, who very ably represent your town. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. This is not news. They do a wonderful job, and I've had the opportunity to speak with them several times about the issues facing not just Duxbury, but the MBTA. And they've always been incredibly responsive to me and I think to the needs of your community. So I just wanted to thank them publicly as well. And just in closing, just wanted to add that working with the T can be a challenge. I think that's not news. It's a large organization. It's very bureaucratic. It has lots of different sort of power centers. I spent 8 years inside the T, and I've been doing this for the past 7 years. So I still have very good connections inside the T. So Mr. Reed or anybody from the town or the select board, if anyone, if you need an answer to a question or you're not getting your question answered, please know that I'm a resource. Chair Glennon is a great way to get in touch with me. He's got my cell phone. I'd be delighted to try to help you get your questions answered on behalf of any constituents or any challenges your community is having. Really happy to do that. And again, really appreciate you permitting me the time on your very busy schedule to introduce myself, introduce the organization, and let you know that we are here to work for you. And again, thank you, Chair Glennon. I appreciate the time, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Any questions from the board?
Not from me.
I do.
Amy?
Thank you for coming, Mr. Kane. As you know, the town recently was required by the state under the MBTA zoning to rezone an area of town to accommodate high-density housing. And that was based on the fact that we're an adjacent community to the Kingston commuter rail. I have heard, and this is why I'm asking the question, that the ridership from the Kingston station is very, very low. I was wondering if you could tell me what the average ridership from Kingston is during the week and as also on the weekends.
So sure, a couple of things. So we have nothing to do with 3A. It's the worst named piece of legislation in Massachusetts history, in my humble opinion. I don't have that ridership information at my fingertips, but I will get it. I'll share it with Chair Glennon, and hopefully he can pass it along if that's okay. I don't want to take your time and look it up here and now. If that's all right with you, I'm happy to share that with you offline.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, that's an important distinction, Brian. Thank you for raising that the MBTA Advisory Board has nothing to do with the MBTA zoning that we all endured Other questions from the board? If not, I'd be happy to open up to the public if anybody has any questions for Mr. Kane.
Ask Amy a question. Was that?
Can you come up to the,
Oh, sorry.
If you could just introduce yourself for our record.
Judith Kiplinger, Pilgrim Byway. Were you asking ridership from Duxbury using, or anybody going from the Kingston station?
Through the chair. So I was actually asking just what the ridership is from
In general.
Kingston, not specifically from Duxbury. That would be interesting to know, maybe. I've just heard, and as you know, the North Plymouth station closed down just at the same time they built a whole bunch of housing there. So it's all very curious to me, but I just
Me too.
thought that this was a good opportunity to get an answer to that question.
Okay, I don't see anybody else standing. Is there anybody online who looking to ask a question? Nancy? No? Okay. All right, Brian, thank you very much. Great to have you here tonight.
Thanks very much. Appreciate all you do. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
thank you, Brian.
Okay, so next on our agenda is a joint discussion with the Powder Point Bridge Advisory Committee and MassDOT staff regarding three things. Consider whether or not to appeal the non-historic designation, Section 106, discussion pertaining to consultant hiring, and review how to cancel the Powder Point Bridge email, the discussions related thereto, and the possible implications. Before we get into it, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask you to call your group to order.
Yep, we do have a quorum, so do you need to read the preamble too?
No.
So at this point, we'll call our meeting to order.
Okay, great. Rainey?
Thank you, sir. The packet of information that I'll be referring to, I've made some copies and they're on the back table there. I think there's only about 20 of them, but you're welcome to share. So I just wanted to go over what we were going to talk about. As you said, Brian, a couple of decisions need to be rendered by the board this evening. The first is whether or not to keep or cancel the project. The second is whether or not to appeal the non-historic designation that says that Section 106 designation at this time, and we can get into that one as well, and a discussion pertaining to the hiring of a Section 106 consultant. So in the packet of information, you'll see correspondence. On the top of the packet, you'll find that there's an email exchange with Ed Mayo and let's see who else is on that thread, between Fernando, Ed, Brian, Sheila, Mary, and Matt Hines, where we discuss, and Matt, excuse me, Ed rightfully states why Section 106 still matters. And then in that, he states that, following our meeting yesterday, I wanted to offer why I believe the town should continue moving forward with hiring a consultant to pursue Section 106 eligibility for the Powder Point Bridge, even in light of Mass DOT's recent offer to collaborate and involve a bridge architect. And he raises some good points, why we should still pursue the Section 106. Mass DOT has made it clear they don't support our pursuit of 106. They've offered to work with the town on design details and bring in a bridge architect. That's appreciated, and I think we should continue to engage in good faith, but that offer doesn't replace the protections or leverage we would gain from formal federal eligibility funding.
I'm sorry, can I just ask you to back up for that? You said that
Please.
although they don't support, who's they don't support?
Ed
Oh,
had
okay.
stated that the state,
The DOT does not.
The DOT doesn't support it, not your group?
That
Okay,
was from a
thank
meeting
you.
we had
Okay,
previously.
thank you. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure that wasn't
Yep,
really
no,
that
glad you
clear.
did.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
and then he lists a number of points as to why it matters. Specifically, Section 106 creates a legal obligation. The state's determination is not final. Number 3, public participation is guaranteed. Number 4, the design influence becomes real. Number 5, it doesn't mean we're not cooperating. Number 6, the impact on the project timeline. And then why hire a consultant? And as Ed had noted, it would assemble a credible case for federal eligibility. It would challenge the state's decision if warranted, to help navigate the Section 106 process with expertise, and to represent Duxbury's interest in a professional and coordinated way. And I had an opportunity to speak with Marco from Mass DOT, who is here this evening, and in the conversation, I reiterated the following. I'm certainly personally not adverse to the idea, but I do think there are additional ideas that need to be considered. I spoke with Marco about this, and here's what we discussed in general. In terms of the span configuration and the number of pilings, the town needs to understand that there will be fewer pilings no matter what. I think we all understand this. Regarding the cross-section, Mass DOT is doing their best to get the smallest width per the town's request. The question becomes, what does a 106 approval get us? It seems that the main issue boils down to the amount of wood on the bridge, which is the primary aesthetic. And then I asked the question, if I'm wrong, let me know. Marco offered an interesting suggestion worthy of our consideration. The town could bring a consultant on board and have that professional advising the town along the way through the process, meaning we can have the consultant work for the town during the architectural conversations that Mass DOT has agreed to and is preparing for, and the consultant can advise the town as to whether or not they or we agree with Mass DOT's approach, and if they share or have a different perspective or viewpoint. Then, if there is disagreement, we can go ahead with seeking the 106 historic designation if necessary. And then I asked the question, I wonder if this might be a better route, because once the process is started at the federal level, we can't stop it. As Marco explained to me, the moment the application is filed, it becomes a pending issue until the keeper, who is the keeper of the National Historic Register, the person to whom we are appealing, makes a determination. The time frame in making that determination is still unclear. Also, if the keeper makes a determination that is historic, it has to go through the entire process and cannot be withdrawn. As was mentioned yesterday, there are several federal permits required for this project from at least the Coast Guard and the Army Corps of Engineers. Those federal agencies will ask if this process is cleared to move forward, and if there is a historic process pending, that will cause them to pause. The result is that the process could be a lengthy one for the historic determination. And I noted, I think it's worthy of consideration and further conversation, which is why we're here this evening. And along another vein, and this is not an impediment, as I noted, it's just a procurement compliance issue. If the consulting fees are over $10,000, we were required to obtain 3 quotes for the services. Just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. And we had actually requested, that Mass DOT consider hiring a project engineer per their request, a project architect to assist in this process, and they have agreed to do that and have hired that person. And I'll let Marco expand upon that thought. So that was the discussion regarding the consultant hiring. And then there was what facilitated all of this conversation was an email that was sent back in July, where the question was asked of Mass DOT by a resident wondering if you could share with me the process for canceling the Powder Point Bridge replacement project. There's a group working on a special town meeting article to cancel it. Even if we do get National Historic designation, it sounds like there are too many restrictions on the project to make it work. Instead, a local group wants to switch out the piles on the current bridge for another material that worms won't eat, and thus keep it as it is. And that caused an email to come to me from DOT saying, please see the email chain below. As discussed, we'd like to meet sometime next week with you to let you know what some of the implications could be if the town were to choose to cancel the project. The first issue that comes immediately to mind is the potential for the bridge to be closed due to deteriorating conditions. The second is that what we are proposing may not be viable under any funding source due to technical and environmental issues. And so with all of that, that's what's brought us here this evening, was, again, to just achieve clarity on whether or not we're going to go forward with the project, or if we're going to, and then to figure out if we're going to appeal the non-historic designation, and if so, what is the timing of that, and then finally discuss the hiring of a 106 consultant.
Can I speak
And-
for a letter?
Not yet, but everybody will have an opportunity to speak.
Oh, okay,
Thank
good.
you.
They didn't answer. For 2 months, they haven't
Oh.
answered. It's a simple question. How do you
Okay.
cancel it? Not what you do.
Yeah.
How do you cancel it? And they
And-
Ms.
haven't
Hill,
answered.
we'll get to, I promise.
And with that, Marco is here from, and Marco Pereira, I'm sorry, I didn't say your last name, but Marco is here, and I think it would be a good opportunity for him to speak as well,
Okay, Mr. Pereira?
if you don't
Your
mind.
floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, one thing I did want to say, the firm that the state has hired is, they're called Urban Idea Labs, and the, I apologize, forgive me, I'm sorry, I didn't want to shout. The firm that has been hired by the state is called Urban Idea Labs, and the architect's name is Eddie, E-T-T-Y, How do you pronounce her last name?
Padmo de Putro.
Yes, and that's spelled Padmodipoetro. So, with that.
Marco, you do have a microphone in front of you, but that's for the folks at home. It doesn't
Understood.
amplify in the room.
So there's obviously a lot of points that were hit upon there. I think we should, right out of the gates, get to the cancellation question because it's big, it's important. I know it's something people want to know, and it's as follows. Had several discussions about it today. As long as the state and the town wish to move forward with the project moves forward. Full stop. Reasonable inferences can be drawn from there as to if either of us choose to not want to continue to advance, that communications would take place and we would take it from there. So that is the DOT's answer on that. As long as we are both wanting to move forward, we move forward. Infer from there what it would take to do the opposite.
Can I ask a clarifying question? What would, let's put the town to one side, what would make DOT not want to carry on with the project?
Nothing I can imagine. Let me put it that way. The DOT is only wanting to move forward because it's our duty to make sure the infrastructure is in good shape. Do it in the most effective way possible. Reasonable people can disagree about that, but we've obviously moved forward with wanting to do it. So in some imaginary scenario that I can't think of, the DOT could reserve the right to not want to, but it's not on the table.
On the table. So, follow-up question then, would if we were to go and apply and hire this consultant, apply for the review by the keeper as to whether the bridge is historic or not, would that be a reason for DOT not to proceed with the project?
No. The only thing that we can offer you on that front is
Yep.
the following. Getting the designation of historic, I think I said this at the public information meeting, doesn't get you the world.
Doesn't get you the what?
The world, everything you want.
Yeah, that's great. The clarity on what they want to, say for instance, the keeper says the bridge is historic. What happens next in terms of what does it do for us?
Understood, and it's important for everyone to understand that. And
Correct.
Kurt, I'm going to bounce it to you because you know this process much better than I do.
Yeah.
And Kurt, if you could just introduce yourself for our record.
Of course.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kurt Jurgensen, and I work for the Massachusetts Department of Transportation Cultural Resources Unit. As far as the next steps, once in the event that the keeper of the National Register determined that the bridge was indeed eligible for the National Register, we at MassDOT would engage with likely the Bridge Advisory Committee, the Historical Commission, to get input on their thoughts about the project. We would have to consider what options may be available for repair and rehabilitation of the bridge, if there are any. And we would proceed with considering those alternatives. If there are none, we would end up right back where we are today with a replacement. And we would consider what that might mean. Would it be more wood than what we have been considering to this point? Possibly, but there's no guarantee. Section 106 is a consultation process, and it is about compromise. It's about reaching a point between MassDOT's point of view and the Historical Commission's point of view. The State Historic Preservation Officer at the Mass Historical Commission provides input. Federal Highway Administration provides input because at the end of the day, they hold the purse strings and have a lot of clout on what they are willing to build and not build. So, again, it's a matter of compromise. It wouldn't be, as Marco said, it wouldn't be the world for the Bridge Advisory Committee and the Historical Commission. It would not be full wood replacement unless the Federal Highway Administration, for whatever reason, decided they were behind that and wanted to do it. So, again, we would, after all of that legwork, all of that consideration, all of those discussions, we would be right here again, talking about how to replace the bridge and then design that replacement bridge and move from there. So it's a matter of delays, really, if the keeper of the National Register were to determine the bridge National Register eligible. It wouldn't kill the project. It would just mean we may be 10 years down the road before there's a new bridge.
Right. So I just wanted, just a clarifying, right? So say the keeper says it is historic, then there will be consultations, obviously with the town, with the Historic Commission and the Powder Point Advisory Committee and obviously DPW. So the first thing you look at would be to see if it's possible to repair and rehabilitate the bridge. That's what I heard you say. Is that correct?
That is the first step in considering a project
Okay.
under Section 106.
Right. Right.
Avoidance, minimization, mitigation.
Okay.
So rehabilitation or repair of the bridge
Right.
would be avoidance of an adverse effect under Section 106.
Okay. All right.
Mike?
And that was kind of dovetails to my question. So you're a public servant. You work for the state and you advocate for preserving historical structures as part of your job. Is that correct?
Not strictly.
Okay.
I work for Mass DOT.
So
I help to get Mass DOT projects through the Section 106 process and the Section 4F review process, which is much more stringent. It's a federal highway deliberative process by which historic resources and natural resources are protected. So I do not advocate on the behalf of the resources. I advocate for Mass DOT and how to best design a project that considers historic resources.
Correct. Who would advocate for the town for that kind of consideration?
The State Historic Preservation Officer, who works at the Massachusetts Historical Commission, advocates on behalf of historic resources across the Commonwealth. Mass Preservation is the statewide advocacy organization. They advocate on behalf of historic resources. The Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, in a sense, also advocates for historic resources. They're in Washington. They oversee the Section 106 process and make sure that it is followed correctly and all of the steps are complied with.
May I interrupt just to ask
course.
for a point of clarification on your question? All of what you just said would be contingent upon the designation of it being historic, which right now it is not. So all of the things that you just mentioned are only if it gets deemed historic. Is that correct?
No,
No.
no.
I got a yes, and he's saying yes, and you're saying no. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Yes.
National Register eligibility is not the end of the story for every historic resource or every resource in general. The thoughts, opinions, feelings of the local community matter. And if people feel that a resource, regardless of whether it's over 50 years old, which is the benchmark for National Register eligibility, with few exceptions. There is an exception that that the National Register staff are able to apply for resources of exceptional significance that are under 50 years old, but that's a whole kettle of fish. It's more about how important a resource is to a community. whether the community wants to fight for it, whether they can advocate for others to join that effort. Within the framework of a federally funded undertaking, like this bridge replacement project is proposed to use federal funds. National Register eligibility is the framework that we work within as Section 106 exists and as Section 4F exists. And National Register eligibility is sort of the foot in the door as far as that's concerned.
But are you saying that even without the historic designation, that the town could work with you to design a bridge that would satisfy or hopefully, I mean, I think that's what we're all trying to do, is satisfy the residents of the town. It's been a long wood bridge for, you know, from before I was born. I went over that, you know, many times as a child up till today. And, you know, I think that is, you know, it's hard to envision something that is dramatically different. So am I hearing that the town could work with you even without the historic designation to that end?
I will put it this way. Mass DOT is here to work with the town and its citizens. We are not here to say, you need a new bridge and it's going to be concrete. However, Federal Highway is paying for the project. They have standards that they need to meet, and design life is one of them. And Marco can speak to this more than I can.
Yeah, I can offer a little more on the working together.
You need to be on the microphone.
Well, before you do that, though,
Yeah.
I just want to follow up where I think Amy was going with this as well. So we're talking about, one of the things we're talking about is 106 and whether that process should go forward. And I think what I heard earlier is even if that does result in an endpoint, that endpoint being consultation, my question is, where Mass DOT has already retained an architect with historic experience, what would we expect to be different between a 106 consultation, that is if we go through this process, and what you're already doing? Just so everybody understands what we get for all this work.
I'm going to say what we're already doing, and then you can offer what you would get based on the void between what you would get. So leadership, Mike O'Dowd, my boss, came here with me. We talked to you all about it. Position was as follows. Getting your designation buys process, not product. We will work closely with the town with a special architect. We will work closely with a subgroup of people on a frequency as needed to workshop and advance ideas that we will then take to the public. The idea there being that when we come back to you, we are not working in a vacuum, making wild guesses as to what would and wouldn't work, what wouldn't be accepted, etc. Our position was, and Jeff Shrimpton, your supervisor, said, we actually, one of the proposals you have on the table is to bring on an historic professional. We are for that. We actually want you to. And the reason why we want you to is this individual can advocate on your behalf and keep us honest. When we tell you, hey, even if you get your designation, you're probably not going to get this, they will be there to tell you whether we are correct or not. We don't have an agenda here. We just advance projects. This is my 18th bridge that I'm actively working on. We want to give you a product that works in your community. We'll bring on an architect. If you were to retain an historic professional, they can say whether we're being honest brokers. At any time, if you're not comfortable with that, and any time you think we're reaching an impasse, you can still pull the trigger. Problem with pulling the trigger in advancing toward the keeper of the National Register. The critical path on this project right now is environmental permitting. It is beyond arduous. It would blow your mind as to what it takes to replace it would blow your mind to replace an existing bridge in place. As soon as the Army Corps, the Coast Guard, all the other federal agencies know there's a pending historic determination, they won't look at it. It freezes the project until that gets resolved. How quickly that gets resolved, I don't know. It's my understanding that the existing keeper passed away and that there's someone functioning in their interim. And things are different in DC, so we don't know. But we would have to let them know there's a pending action. Our bottom line is this. We're going to work with you in the best of faith as though we're in that rough space of maintaining historic character. If you have your professional on board, they will work with us too, and they're welcome to be in that very frequent meeting space and see what we come up with. We reach impasse, you still reach, we're not doing this conditionally. We're not offering this architect conditionally. We're not negotiating from a maximalist position. We're trying to come up with something to advance these projects, because boy, do we have a lot of them. So we're just letting you know that pulling the trigger might introduce a lot of delay. Only very maybe will get you the historic designation. If it does, it might not get you as much as you would have otherwise gotten by just sitting at the table with us. That's the takeaway message. Anything to offer?
If you go to the mic, please.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All I want to say is that I think what Mike O'Dowd had to say about getting process rather than product is dead on. And, knowing Mike's experience and dealing with historic bridges for a long time now, I'm not surprised that he would have that pearl of wisdom. Again, Section 106 is a consultation process. It does not have prescribed outcomes. We would be required to discuss what we are able to do and what we are not able to do for financial reasons, engineering reasons, amount of disruption to the environment, to the community, people wanting to get to the beach, how many years of construction it would take. We consider everything, and where things land in the end might not be an all-wood bridge. It might not be a half-wood bridge. We never know. That's about the discussions and where that leads us.
But at the end of the day,
Before you go, I just wanted to give Cindy an opportunity. Cindy?
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question about, actually, I have two questions. The first one is, if in fact we got a 106 designation, let's say we went for it, we got the designation, how different would that outcome be in terms of, it's my understanding that the feds and DOT have certain requirements, like a 75 year span, that it's going to last for 75 years or 100 years if you're DOT, that sort of thing. Are all those sorts of things, I assume, but maybe not, so that's my question. Do those stand?
Yes, they do, regardless of whether the bridge is determined to be National Register eligible or not. The replacement bridge must meet those requirements. They're in the case of federal highway, and to be honest, Mass DOT's standards are based on national discussions, particularly in the Association of State and Highway Transportation Officials. Engineers get together and discuss what those standards are going to be on a national basis, rather than each state trying to hash out a patchwork of requirements for how to keep bridges safe, how to keep roads safe, et cetera.
Okay, so in follow-up, there's certain things like pilings couldn't be wooden, because I can't imagine, and they haven't lasted, 50 years, 40 years, let alone 75 to 100 years, right? And the same with the driving surface. You know, we're constantly replacing the driving surface. So I'm just wondering what 106, what positive it would get us. It'd be a delay. Just sort of like my follow-up, my second question then was like, you had mentioned that it could be like a 10-year delay, which is a significant amount of time. And I don't know that that bridge has 10 years, from what I'm hearing, that it would have to be shut down. So any thoughts on that?
Don't quote me on the 10-year delay.
No, okay.
That was off the cuff. I mean, is it likely that it would be less than 10 years before a new replacement bridge was opened? I'd say yes. I was trying to convey the general idea of significant years-long delays.
It's typically 6 months to 2 years.
But then there's permitting, there's design, there's,
That's an additional.
right.
We have to go through the 106 first, if you're going to do that.
Exactly.
Then, you know, you'd mentioned the environmental issues after that, so.
So,
And it's my understanding that the bridge would need to be shut down before that, any of that even happened.
Fernando?
yeah, so maybe ask the question a different way, right? So if we get historic designation and the feds or in terms of the DOT and regulations, we would not get the Powder Point Bridge back again.
I would say that is extremely likely. I don't want to
Not
speak
get
on
it.
behalf of,
Let's be clear, right? So basically, we get historic designation, and the design is not going to be the existing Powder Point Bridge. That's not going to be the replacement.
That's not what he originally said.
Hold on.
I just, I'm trying to sharpen what exactly do we get with the historic 106 designation, right? What everybody wants here is they want a brand new bridge that looks exactly the same as the existing bridge. Does historic designation 106 get us a replica, brand new Powder Point Bridge?
no. Bluntly, no.
No, can I believe.
I can say that unequivocally. I will preface that with, I don't want to speak on behalf of the Federal Highway Administration, but I have heard unequivocally, they will not put wood and water, and they are very reluctant to put a wood deck back. Because,
Which was what Cindy
Well,
just asked.
yeah, I
They
just asked
no,
require-
no wood and water is unequivocal.
They're going to require us, no matter what, 106
I said it needs to be
designation.
considered.
Hold on, just one conversation at a time. Ed,
But-
Ed, hold on just a second.
But consideration
I'm
does
going
not mean
to come to you
acceptance.
next, Ed. Any other questions from the board? Because I'd like to hear from the commission.
Well, I think, can we just clarify what we're just, all that talking, I'm not sure the people at home can hear, that whether or not we have 106 designation, the state is not going to put any wood in the water, so the pilings will have to be something other than wood, and that it is highly unlikely that any driving surface or decking would be wood,
So-
regardless of the historical designation. Is that accurate?
I just need to offer a little context because there's some reading between the lines that needs to happen. What you did here was that service life, right? And that implies certain things, right? We know wood and water doesn't last 75 to 100 years. By extension, you're not going to get that. Point of clarification, the major structural elements have to last 75 to 100 years. What does that mean? The pilings and the major structures underneath the driving surface, to be clear. So theoretically, wood driving surface. However, it's the big however, and this is where the feds will push. A little context. You'll notice older bridges as you're driving over them used to go kerthunk, 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 kerthunk. Those are bridge joints. They were made for expansion. You will not hear that on a new bridge because it is anathema to bridge life to open up the deck because it destroys the major structural elements underneath by being open. closed bridge decks are what we gun for. So, by extension, back to the 75-year thing, by having timber decking over steel, say, because I think there's certain people who would be like, oh, we would love, if you had steel piles, hidden steel substructure with timber over it. We couldn't reliably talk to the Federal Highway Administration and say, yeah, that'll get 75 years because of all the exposure. Back to the full circle conversation. That service life standard holds, so it becomes a conversation about that. I think you've heard that it was 6 months to 2 years of additional time, so being favorable to you all pursuing it, I think it's reasonable probably to say 2 years to be a little conservative. We are looking at construction beginning, if we full on no additional process, spring of '28. So you've got to keep, just to offer maximum access to the community, you've got to keep the bridge alive till spring of '28 when we do have to close it. We kind of mentioned that. There's a cost associated with that. That's specifically borne by the town, so just information to have. You would have to build that out 2 more years for whatever process you added. I know that as of right now, we sent the town a letter in August regarding the fact that there are at least 19 pilings with what we call a grade 4 or more rating, which will require them to be replaced by May. That's going to have significant cost and time associated with it. That's only going to increase over those additional 2 years. Things to keep in mind. That's all. When you're deliberating and you're making these decisions, there are real costs associated with the delays. They may be worth it to you. I'm not saying they're not. You just need to know about it. You need to know that that's a factor, just so you all are fully informed. And we're here to fully inform you. Don't have a dog in this race. We like to advance projects. We like to advance them quickly. We like to do a good job. We like to do things that are good for the community. Problem with the historic process is even if, let's just say we find that we're working well together and everybody's happy, sorry, you sent it in, we got to wait. That's all. That's the takeaway. So I think the most we can ask of you right now is to work with us for a few months, maybe, if that's all we can get to start off to build trust. We're proposing to have a small group work with us very frequently. I wouldn't say weekly, but whatever makes sense, to watch how we talk about your bridge, watch the hours we spend talking about and agonizing over how we can make it meet all those criteria. Maybe you'll hear back from the folks who designate, boy, they really are working here. These are the only points we don't agree on. Let's at least find those out first, because then maybe we get down to a very narrow point of disagreement. Bridge width, you'd already be surprised how far we've gotten to meet you all. I don't know if y'all want to hear about that, but we've brought it way down. Probably down to exactly what you want, if not really close. So again, it's a town asset. There are implications for the delay. Any preservation solutions you might come up with are going to be subject to, let's just say you tell us to go pound sand, come up with some preservation solutions. 2 issues there. 1, you'll still have to deal with permitting issues if they involve significant pile work. And then B, you'll have to get a bridge engineer registered in the state of Massachusetts to stamp and sign it. And then C, I talked to our state bridge engineer today regarding this. Guess who reviewed the one that's in the water today? Our state bridge engineer 40 years ago reviewed that very bridge. He would be the one to review whatever solutions came up regarding it. So it's just important to know that there's no easy answers moving forward, and that, we know what you want. We know you want probably a give or take replica with no wood in the water. Probably what you want. Let's see where we can get before you pull the trigger. I mean, that's the most we can ask of you right now. Because you want what you want. We're not going to stop you from wanting it. I mean, it's a middle way.
If I can help us move along here, I think, Marco, that was very clear, I think. I would, since this is a joint meeting with the Powder Point Bridge Advisory Committee, I would like to give Ed an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, sure.
If you go to the mic, please.
Just a couple of points, thanks, Michael. From what I understand, if we do proceed with the 106 and we decide that it's moving forward and we decide we've come to terms with Mass DOT, I believe there is an opportunity and there's an exit strategy available to the town to withdraw from the 106 process once it's started. That is something that you can do. And I don't know exactly what the details are, but I can find out and send them along. And then originally what they were saying was that repair is an option. So that is something that, just to correct what you were saying earlier, that is on the table if the 106 goes through. But that was it.
Okay. Before you go, questions from the board? Go ahead, Mike.
Could you fill me in on how we ended up with a non-historic status? And have we, and I don't know if anybody can answer this, if we've been given any correspondence about how to appeal, what the timing is on that appeal?
Yeah, I can tell you the whole thing. Okay. So basically the way the 106 review process goes, it gets initiated when the project starts. And no matter what, if there's any sort of historic question, then it goes through this process. And what we're looking to do is advocate for historic designation with the feds. The state basically said because the bridge was made with a non-native species wood and it was 2.5 feet wider than the original bridge, therefore it's not historic, was the real nuts and bolts of the details. And then, what was the other question? Sorry.
Did we get correspondence about how long we have to appeal and what the process is for doing that?
No, there's no direct correspondence, but the way that the appeal works is that as the Historical Commission or the Bridge Advisory Committee, I can't appeal myself. The Select Board can vote on it and decide if we're going to move forward with an appeal, and that's how the process works. And then once that's done, that's where the consultant comes in. Without the consultant, it's going to be a lot harder to advocate, I think, and to follow the whole process of exactly how it works. And there's very few people out there that do this, so that's what I was aiming for, was to get you guys to all vote on it, and then with the fundraising that we've started, to move forward with that as well.
And even after, I'm sorry, even after hearing what you've heard tonight, and I don't know if you've heard it before, what's the position of the advisory committee, or can you delineate what your personal position is as chair of the Historic Commission?
Yeah, I can speak as chair of the Historic Commission. Yeah. We're advocating to go forward with the 106.
Okay.
What about the Bridge Committee?
What's that?
The
The Historical Commission is actually really the advocate, because I think technically that we were the ones who started the whole process before there even was a Bridge Committee.
But what about the Bridge Committee's recommendation?
I don't know how I think we voted on it before and we all said yes, right? I don't remember, but I believe we have. I can look at our minutes.
Have you heard, was that before or after what was discussed tonight about trying to work with DOT for about 3 months?
No, we've been down this road before.
So it seems like a reasonable offer, Ed. So what's your, why does the Powder Point Bridge Advisory Committee and the Historical Commission, what's their objection to that? What's the reasoning for you to discount what Marco said?
I'm not really discounting what they're saying, but basically, if you look back through these emails, all the reasons are there. On the handout, I don't know if you got it.
I did.
And Randy read it earlier.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm hearing, Marco says we can work together.
Yeah, it shouldn't have anything to do with us working together, but it's basically, so the way that I've seen this happen before with state projects or projects in general is, if we decide to do nothing and they decide we're going to build a concrete and steel bridge with no wood on it or no aesthetics, and I know they're working with us and I get it, but we have no skin in the game.
No,
When it gets down to nuts and bolts.
But the offer I had was we could work, and then if the town's input is not being heard and they're going down a path, then we can go ahead and apply for historic 106 designation. We can apply for it whenever, right?
You can, but I think that the earlier the better. It's such a long process anyways. So getting a jump on it now is the correct way to do it.
But I believe that what the gentleman said earlier was that if you were to go ahead and go for the 106 designation, that the permitting gets held up significantly. The Army Corps of Engineers, the permitting, so that
And it
is
stops
where
the
the whole
environmental as well.
delay, part of it comes in, right?
From my understanding, the pro process can take 6 months to 2 years, is what I've heard from when these projects go through. And I don't know if that stops everything. I'm not really sure of that. So I don't know.
And maybe you don't have an answer for this, but I guess after listening to everything, and again, I came in, really with a blank slate. I just wanted to listen and hear and understand. But what is it at this point that you think that getting the historic designation could possibly get us that otherwise couldn't happen? What would that be, since we know that the pilings can't be wood?
So from my understanding of how this process works, if we don't do the 106, we don't have a say.
Oh, that's not what I heard from those gentlemen, but can we confirm that to be true?
So this is another question I have too. Is there a legal document between the state and the town? Because that's where it really comes down to. When you get into details like this and they say one thing, we say another, that's where problems happen, and I don't know the answer to that either.
They have offered to and have hired an architect at our request, and they're encouraging us to hire this consultant to work alongside us. Forgive me. They have offered to and paid for an architect to work alongside us. In addition to, they're encouraging us to hire a consultant, and we can do all of this without having to go down the route, the Section 106 process. I am agnostic to this. I'm just laying out the facts.
That's what I'm trying to get to the facts. And I've also heard that we can pull out at any point if negotiations aren't going well. It doesn't sound like they're going to dictate, and please, I'm asking the question. I mean, we're not going to be, it's not going to be their way or the highway.
Or the bridgeway.
It's going to be a negotiation, and that we can pull back out of it and go for the historic designation at any point during the negotiations. Is that also accurate, gentlemen?
It is.
Thank you.
And that's why.
Please,
Here.
please.
I think this is important.
Like I said, us hiring the architect's not conditional. You go for the 106, we're still going to work with you. We're going to do that. So you can go ahead and do that. When do we get to start building is the big question, and what are all the costs incurred in the meantime?
Yeah, and
Maybe I'm overstating them. I could be. It's hard to say.
Could we have, that's a good point. Maybe Sheila, can you tell us what exactly are we doing when we replace the piles, right? We're not, let me see here. Just make it clear what we're actually doing and have been doing every
How long it
February.
gets us.
And how long does it get us? And when, yeah.
Yeah, we're just limping along right now. And sorry, I'm Sheila Scarzy. I'm the DPW director.
Yeah.
Short-term repairs, that's all we're doing.
What exactly are the repairs?
Well, there's an assortment of repairs, but we're primarily doing sister piles.
Sister piles?
Yep.
So, okay. So basically you're strapping another pile onto the existing pile?
Yeah, 2 piles onto an existing pile
But
that's failed.
you don't pile drive them in all the way down and
No, we are.
oh,
We
you
are.
pile driving all the way
But
down?
I think this last round of repairs we did was actually 2 years' worth of repairs because we didn't have enough money
Right.
the prior year. I think we ended up doing 8 sister piles. I spoke to our engineer this afternoon,
Yeah,
designing the repairs hopefully for this fall.
yeah.
We're only targeting, with the money we have, about 4 sister piles. So we have major concerns that we may, even after the repairs are done, that we may be doing partial lane closures of the bridge. So our consultant suggested that we start funding these repairs at a higher rate, more like $500,000 a year, as
So
opposed to
how many
300.
piles do we have to replace?
Well, the latest inspection report, and that was a preliminary report that I don't believe has been released to the public,
Yeah.
indicated 19 piles. We're only targeting the 4 worst because that's all we think we have enough money to do. We'll try to do as many as we can, but we do not have enough to do 19 pile replacements this fall.
Can we- Just a second, sir. I'd like to hear from Cindy, and then I would like to open to the public, because we have a lot of folks here looking to talk.
Sheila, I've lost my train of thought. When you do a sister pile, do you need to, and you're boring down, do you need to get environmental permitting for that?
We have a standing permit right now that we get an
Okay.
extension for as needed.
Okay.
Permitted right
And
now.
my second question is, I think I heard Ed say something about just repairing the bridge. I may have mistaken that. But is there really any reality or any avenue to keeping the bridge that we have, the actual bridge, and just repairing it?
The rate we're going, from talking to our bridge consultant and from talking to MassDOT, we can't keep up. The repairs cannot keep up with the rate the bridge is deteriorating. So when I hear that the project's going to be potentially delayed, I'm just thinking dollar signs and when is the next inspection report coming down from MassDOT where I need to make an announcement that that bridge is closed. Because if we close the bridge, potentially at first it's just to vehicular traffic, although it may be closed to pedestrians as well, because you close it to vehicles, the bridge is still deteriorating. So it's closed to vehicles. That means MassDOT stops their, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marco, I believe MassDOT stops their twice yearly bridge inspections, but it's open to pedestrians. The town still needs to inspect that bridge, replace the decking, and make sure it's safe for pedestrians. So the town's incurring more costs. And once again, those piles are still deteriorating. So ultimately, the bridge will be entirely closed.
And how much money are we putting in? You said $500,000.
300,000 a year is what we've
Uh-huh.
been investing, but the conversation I had today with SGH, our town's consultant that's been doing these repairs, they suggested that we up it to 500,000 a year minimum.
All right. At this point, I'd like to hear, Mike, I know you have a question, but if we can hold some of our questions here, I'd like to open it up. If we can have a line maybe at the podium. Ms. Hill, you had raised your hand first, I think. Please go right ahead. If you can introduce yourself for our
Okay,
record.
Christine Hill, Washington Street. I just wanted to comment on a couple things that we're talking about here. First of all, the money has been raised privately to fund the consultant. I'm going to bet that if you guys don't vote for it, a private group is going to fund it. And the town, is that better for the town or is it worse for the town? I think you guys all have to think about that and how much control the town will have over it if a private group does it. I would prefer a private group because it would have more leverage over the MassDOT. Nobody wants wood piles who knows about the bridge, because Peter can talk about this, but the intertidal area, we can't have wood piles because worms are eating the wood all up and down the East Coast. It's not going to work. What people want is they want something like steel to replace the current bridge, and Peter has a plan for that, I think. And then the other thing, we're talking a lot about cost, which Sheila was just talking about. And I talk to people in private industry and other people who can't talk in front of you, and they think we're spending an awful lot of money to drive these piles. And I think we need to have some sort of independent examination. I know that the contracting situation is in Massachusetts is very difficult, but I think we need to figure out why they're so expensive and why people are telling me that these piles can be bought on the open market and driven for much, much less money than what we're paying. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Would anybody like to, from the town, like to speak to Ms. Hill's comments? Sheila?
Sorry, can I just speak to the cost? The wood piles, I asked our consultant today, why has the town been going with wood piles for these temporary repairs? He said because wood is the cheapest option and it's temporary repair to get us to the point where the bridge is replaced. The piles themselves aren't super expensive. It's the labor costs, the mobilization costs. We don't pay private sector prices in the public sector. We're subject to mass procurement regulations. We're subject to prevailing wage. So a project that is X number of dollars on the private side is significant factors more on the public side. That's just the reality of public construction. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yes, sir, if you could introduce yourself for our record.
Sure. Roger Grant, 26 Meeting House Road. I'd just like to maybe make 2 or 3 points. First point, I think I heard Mr. Mayo say that both the Historical Commission and the Bridge Advisory Committee are in favor of hiring a consultant and applying for 106. To me, that, as a citizen of town, that carries a lot of weight, and I advocate for the selectmen approving that. It's a minimal expense. What it gives us is leverage. It doesn't mean we can't continue to work with the DOT in the best way possible. I believe we could stop the process. Of course, we'd have to know about that, but I think that would be well advised with that amount of money. The second thing I'd like to say is that I would ask the DOT to come back with what is this design that don't remember your name, excuse me, said we could have a steel substructure with a wooden superstructure. We didn't see anything like that in the initial round of concept design from the state. We saw basically a bridge they could build anywhere with some wooden railings on the side of it. So I think seeing is believing, and seeing something that represents what we could have, what is the best case they could envision for the town, even if it would be difficult to get through, and if it would be a bridge that would take some, bending of the rules where possible to get us something that is representative of what the people of the town want and what is a valuable resource for this town. I'd like to see that because so far we haven't seen it, and I'm concerned that, there's, as they mentioned, the regulations and requirements will drive this. Let's see what's possible before we commit to going through with something until we know what our options are. And the third thing is, in a lot of ways, I just as soon have a wooden bridge there. I've never seen a credible study of, I know it was spoken at the hearing, that the piles could be replaced with concrete piles and below water and wooden piles above water. I don't know if anybody's looked into these things and how they would happen. I know that's probably a dream that's not going to go anywhere at this point, but I would advocate for hearing what the state can do and seeing it before we completely sign on for their proposal because of what they're driven by having to adhere to.
Well, luckily, they are here tonight. So Marco or Kurt, would you like to speak to that?
I just need to add something real quick. When I said a steel substructure with wooden deck, I said I know that's what you want. I'm not saying that's what we're offering.
I thought I heard you say that.
No, I didn't. I want to be clear. Not that we're not offering something in between, but I imagine a majority of the folks in town want steel substructure with a wooden superstructure. I imagine that's what most people want. So I was just acknowledging. I was acknowledging that I know what you want. I hear you. I know what you want. Can I give it to you?
What can you give us?
Well, that's the open. It is the open question. You're right. It's not what Marco can give you.
No, but
it's just to be clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Maureen Caruso. I'm hearing there's a lot of information, but you know what I haven't heard? I haven't heard how we got to this point. This was a unilateral decision to go to MassDOT, right? The board wasn't involved with that decision. Rene made that decision on his own in 2021. That's why we're here today, sweating it out again in this hot room on bad decision-making from a town manager who continues to dictate everything. This bridge was repaired for generations by the people of the town. We shouldered that burden, and we're willing to shoulder it again. But the devil you know and the devil you don't know, right behind me, who's going to hold us hostage as to whether or not, how long it's going to be in repair, or are we going to have access, or are we going to be held hostage to the fear tactics of pilings and replacing and costs? We're shouldering all that anyway. So how did we get to this point, which I believe probably is unlawful, because Rainey doesn't have the authority unilaterally to go after MassDOT and make these propositions and not inform the town and not inform the board, and it goes on and on and on, and it's egregious. And I honestly think that this town was built around the beauty of that beautiful bridge. It's a beautiful bridge. It can be done. We can shoulder the burden. We've done it before. We shoulder every other burden that you've put on us. Cancellation of hours, people being laid off, pay raises. We shoulder all that. This has got to end. This is too much. You people don't know that that's not in his job description to propose this big project to the Department of Transportation? That's not part of your job description. You were to propose it to the townspeople to talk about openly. All of these emails, what good are they? They didn't come out to the town. People didn't know any about. There are no townspeople here tonight. There are very few people that know what's going on. Day-to-day actions from our town manager. I don't like it. It smells of corruption. It smells of backdoor deals. It smells of, we're going to hold the town people hostage, shut down the bridge, whether you shoulder the burden or not, whether MassDOT's involved or not. And then, oh, Quincy's still waiting for their metal bridge to be repaired, replaced. That was floated away when I worked on Long Island in 2016. That was a metal bridge. It didn't last, and it was never replaced.
Before you step away, you mentioned being able to keep what we have is possible. Can you explain to us how we can do that?
From my understanding, the bridge that we've always paid to repair, yes, we have worms, but that's not new. They went back in time, and if you look at the historic measures that were made, now they can change the materials of those pilings so that they're water resistant. You can keep the integrity of the wood by changing up the pilings. And you don't have to do it to the tune of 1.7 million. It can be done with a little thought and consideration and outreach to the town.
Well, I ask because we have the experts from the state here, and they're
The
providing
state
us
shouldn't be
information.
involved. Why is the state involved? They shouldn't be here.
Well,
The townspeople
they
should
are
be here.
at the moment.
Right.
So, and I understand your point, but we're trying to get to the next step here, and what's in our agenda tonight has
to
to do with
cancel the
106. Well, exactly. So if you're offering some
I think-
alternative, I think this board would like to hear what that is.
Well, I think the
Can you give us a
alternative,
cost of the alternative?
can you repeat
And your
that?
expertise.
Oh, we have an expert?
May I respond?
Well, but you're going to tell us how much it costs to keep the bridge
I'm not
going?
the expert.
May I respond first?
Just a
please?
second. Rainey,
Thank
and
you.
then, yes, sir, we'll get you in just a second.
Thank you. Back in October of last year, I responded to an email that Christine Hill had sent me in which I wrote the following. The discussion to have the Powder Point Bridge on the tip has been occurring for a long time. It was something that I had spoken to Peter Butkus, Val Massard, the planner at the time. We had talked about it for years after the fiber wrap material failed to reinforce the pilings. A vote of the board is not required to have it placed on the tip. It's one of the administrative functions that this position moves forward with, along with consultation with staff. Rather than have the town pay for another bridge, it only made sense to us to see if we could secure funding from the federal government for a replacement. The conversations with the regional planning agencies happen at the staff level, which is part of what we, the DPW, the director, myself, the planning director, et cetera, all do on a regular basis. As projects advance and if money becomes available, they are then brought forward beyond the staff level for further consideration. That consideration can include multiple meetings at a variety of levels on the design, feasibility, funding, et cetera. By having the Powder Point Bridge placed on the tip, it set the stage for the town being able to decide if, how, and when we wanted to move forward with the project. As I mentioned earlier, the tip conversation started back years ago between Peter Val and I, along with our regional planning agency. In 2021, our legislative delegation sent in a formal request to have the Powder Point Bridge added to the tip, and it was added. That's how it happened. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't nefarious.
The
It was
town
trying,
doesn't know about
excuse
it.
me.
How is it that every
It was
time you
trying
say
to
people
save
know
us
about your
$180
actions,
million.
Mr. Reeves?
One at a time, please.
We were
Please.
trying to save
Every time
$180
you and I
million.
have a
Let
conversation.
him speak, let him speak.
Just a second, please, thank you.
We were trying to save $180 million. We know we can't afford to replace that. When we first started talking about it,
Ms. Hill, wait, one at a
when we
time,
first
please.
started talking about it, we estimated that it was going to be $25 million. That was 10 or 11 years ago. It's gone up quite a bit.
There's a
So
gentleman.
I'm not sure why you think this is some secret or nefarious thing. It's not.
No,
think-
how about
I
that
think we're
nobody
done.
knows?
I think we're done with that issue.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You wanted to speak to the piles? You can introduce yourself for our record, please.
Peter Dalton, I live on Wadsworth Road. I'm also on the Duxbury Shellfish Advisory Board. And I think the reason why we're here tonight is something back in history. It started with the Clean Water Act in 1972 that President Nixon passed. By doing that, which is a good thing, caused boar infestation to come from offshore to inshore, to eat in all the wooden pilings for boar infestation. I did a study down in, by the way, I work for an engineering consulting firm. It's an old MIT group. I went down to Fort Lauderdale to Bahia Mai Marina down there and looked at their situation with their wooden piles on the East Coast. Went to the West Coast, Naples, they had the same scenario. I went to our Powder Point Bridge, same scenario. At that time, the town was considering doing fiber wrap. That firm's out of San Diego. The local rep lives in Rhode Island, called me in my office and asked me if he could do a mock-up of the fiber wrap jackets. There were 2 jackets that were fastened that walked into the pilings. I said, how long you need my lab for? He said, a few days. So he invited the town of Duxbury. A couple of DPW guys came. The DOT-5 came to the meeting. I watched the meeting in our lab with some of our engineers. My opinion, it wasn't going to work. And they told me how they were going to do it, and I watched how they were going to do it. I saw them pouring grout in from the top with 6,000 PSI grout in the top of the jackets to flow down. Of course, that's not going to ever work. You have to pump the grout from the bottom up and displace the salt water. I also told them back then, I said, if you're going to do this, and I still disapprove of this, you have to do cube testing on the grout at placement to make sure it's gaining its strengths of 7, 14, and 28 days as they grow, to make sure they're getting the strengths that are required to work. What it was, those jackets were proud of the existing piling by 3 inches, and the grout went in to fill in all the voids of where the boar infestation has taken place. The boar infestation takes place from the mud line at the bottom, to the +2 tide mark, okay? That's where the boars are eating. From the +2 tide mark up to the underside of the bridge, it looks very good, all right? That's probably 60% of the structure, okay? From the mud line down, if you shovel down and look, which I've done with here with a couple of other engineers, the boars look like they were driven yesterday to refuse. Usually they're driven to refusal down a ledge. If you go over to the Powder Point Bridge, like I did in Florida, low tide, you go and test the pilings. From the mud line down, they look brand new. Reason being, when I do studies on this, you take a toothpick out of a box, you can snap it and break it, right? Take the same toothpick, put it in a glass of water for 3 days, 4 days. You take it out, you can't bend it or break it. Wood piles get stronger as they are saturated with mud and water. The piles at South Station, which I did a project there, it's built in 1896, and Frankie Piles did all the piles there. Those piles during the recent construction by John Fish with Suffolk Construction look perfect. So wooden piles are also used all along Com Ave and Beacon Street for all those brownstones. And they have, against all the facades, there's open areas where rain can come down and saturate those and keep them strong. They last forever. So my point is there's 550 piles here. I believe I counted in my boat the other day, there was 23 of them that were sisted on after counting them. So out of the 550 piles, 23 have been, There's 2 piles of which they drove from up top, drove down. Whether it was to refusal or not, I don't know. But they were assisted, which means adjacent to the existing piling, which they thought were the worst ones at that time to replace. My thing is, I think we should do a study where the pilings at the mud line down are in great shape, and they are all over the country. We do studies on this. Use that existing piling that was driven to refusal as a caisson. You drop a caisson plate on top of it with gussets on the side and a back plate, you can walk in a new synthetic piling and take the 45-degree angles that are cantilevered from the cantilevered sections of the bridge down and attach it to that. So there are ways to do this. And I have 3 companies that are very interested in this. And I worked on the Big Dig and the Zachem Bridge with these companies before and some other piling projects, Pearson Piles. They're designers of piles. I spoke to Mark. He said he'd willing to come down and love to look at this project. The Cashman, Jay Cashman happens to be a good friend of mine. Jay Cashman does a lot of dredging in all the harbors and all over the East Coast. He recommended one of his good companies that works for him, which is Coastal Construction. Spoke to Gene Kelly. He said, Pete, I'd love to come down and look at that bridge for you. We can take care of this for you. By leaving the existing bridge up top, the whole platform with the wooden planks that go bad, is no different than road asphalt repairing potholes. And those planks, by bumping across them, slows down the cars and the traffic. I looked at that tonight. If that was an all asphalt and concrete, that'd be a quarter-mile drag strip. So I also had another company, Robert Hour Company, that when I'm working with a project down in Provincetown at the Captain Jack's Wharf. There are also fiberglass jackets that are now being driven and filled with concrete to replace wood. So there is other materials that are being used all over the country. They're not ripping bridges down. They're repairing them and getting rid of the wood pilings that are being infested with boar infestation. And I'll pass around a photo of boar, what the boar actually looks like if you like to see it. But there are alternatives instead of ripping all these structures down. And that's why these companies are all jumping on it. And I think if we do a study on it for 1 year to 2 years with movement studies, put movement monitors there to see what kind of movement's taking place, both laterally and vertically, you got to do things like that and do a mock-up and see if it works. Because I was told, and I was asked to, that this bridge had ice damage. So when I did my studies down south, I took photos down there of both the West Coast and East Coast, and I took the photos of the so-called, of the boar infestation and brought them to the town meeting I was asked to go to. I laid out photos of Bahia, Naples, and Duxbury, laid them out in the conference room table at the town meeting. And everybody said to me, "Where's that ice damage, Mr. Dalton?" I said, "Florida." I said, "You're being misled here. It's not ice damage. It started in 1971. It's boar infestation." So that's it for me.
Can I ask a couple of clarifying questions, right? So you said basically what you're proposing, you'd have to study it for 1 or 2 years?
I think at least go through 2 thermal cycles, freeze and thaw cycles,
Yeah.
movement cycles.
Right.
High tides, +2, moon tides.
Right.
Do all that. Just don't jump into it and start something. Also get engineers to put their stamp, structural engineers, next to every single detail.
Right, so that's 2 years, right? And then the engineers, and then after that, what would happen after that? Say it goes ahead? I'm just trying to figure out how much it cost and what
I
exactly
honestly
is the scope of.
I don't know that, but what I'm going to be asking these 2 companies, the engineering design, the pile design company and the 2 other contractors, if there's 550 piles, there are 5 piles. I was going to ask them to consider start at the east end, do 5, skip 5, do 5, skip 5, all the way to the west end. And of course, how much time would you need in 1 year with a season of construction, not in the winter, because you need certain temperatures to do concrete, grout and everything else, is alternate every 5 till you get from west to east. Then when you finish that, the piles that you didn't do, alternate that from east all the way to, from the west to the east. How much it would cost each year, with a 3 to 5% increase in wages and also labor. So I have not brought them there yet. I was waiting to talk to Ed about this, and I can bring them. They're very anxious and they would love to participate because this is something that's happening all over the country.
So basically, this would be a funded and sponsored by the town of Duxbury and the residents of Duxbury
Yes.
would be paying for all this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we have no idea how much it's going to cost?
No. I don't think you just pull the trigger on this and just start without doing a study on it.
And who's going to pay for the study? The town is. How much does it cost to
I
study?
don't know that yet.
So
It's
you're
called mock-ups. You
asking,
do a mock-up, you do a physical mock-up.
this is all costing, right? So
Of course, yeah.
we'd have to, so basically what you're saying here is that we would have to raise articles and get capital and all that kind of money to pay, taxpayers to pay for this, right?
Yeah, but I think what you can get out of it, I think you can keep the existing structure where only 40% of it is bad, in my opinion. Out of the 550 piles, I think you have 23 locations have been insisted on. I went by there on my boat the other day. And you get another 14 you want to do? Another 19? Those might have to be done all during the course of this study.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
I heard a lot about, at the beginning here, about working with the town and folks over the next few months, come up with some plans. This gentleman sounds very knowledgeable. Is this something the state would be willing to listen to when we talk about repair or replacement or anything like that? Yeah.
So I'm not here to throw cold water on the viability and merits of that.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart people can make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just true.
Before I leave,
And-
just wanna- the existing piling can be used as a caisson. If you look engineering what a caisson does, it's supposed to look about.
I talked to the state bridge engineer today about your idea.
Yes.
That's how much I remember it from last time. So it isn't lost on us. We're not poo-pooing good ideas. We're
Right.
not. A couple of pitfalls we saw. Not insurmountable, it's just important. You all need to know the implications of ideas. You might, Mr. Dalton, know otherwise in terms of implementing that, because you're right. Below the mud line, you're absolutely right. They're probably pristine. You may, I could be wrong.
We did, we shoveled down just recently the other day.
I'm willing to, believe that.
I just shoveled it back in the truck.
The important key is how do you do it? And this is just a question you would all need to answer. In order to do it, do you envision having to build a cofferdam around it and dewatering? So, back to these environmental permitting people who are beasts. That would be a challenge. You would just need to know about that. You'd have to go through a very, in my opinion, probably a significant environmental permitting exercise on that. Not saying not viable, not saying not doable, just know that. They apply a standard of least disturbing to achieve your goal, to achieve the project goals. They would probably challenge whether that approach is least disturbing, if only because of the need to build cofferdams around however many sets there are there. Just know that. That's just a potential impediment. That's it. Not making any statements on the merits. The other question is twofold. One, finding a registered professional bridge engineer pre-approved in the state of Massachusetts to sign off on such a thing, you would need to do that. Not saying you couldn't, not saying you couldn't.
Could you put a booms around the cofferdams as you work on them?
Maybe so. The environmental
That's kinda
permitting,
simple.
the people being difficult about it aren't the engineers. We know we can do stuff. It's the environmental permitting people. How much silt are you moving? It's brutal. They don't let us do anything to build bridges. It's tough. So know that. Finding a professional engineer to sign off on it, know that you would need to find out if you could. Lastly, our state bridge engineer would need to approve it as well. That's all. Just know, it's not a simple path, it's a path. Just know that. I just have to make you aware of those things.
It's a public road at the end of the day, right? So it has to be approved by DOT, yeah?
Correct, it has to be
Yeah.
approved by DOT. There's a Mass General law.
And I
that
just wanted
bridges,
to
please.
follow up.
Go ahead.
And I would like, to just answer, if you can, the question about working with Mr. Dalton. The other end of this is, I would assume that DOT, hearing about these exponential price increases,
Yeah.
doesn't sound like Mr. Dalton's plan is quite as expensive as the plan that's been floated here.
Hard to know, right? You'd have to
Right.
cost it out. There's a large, I don't even want to speculate.
Right.
Because someone brought up the fact that when the bridge was programmed, it was 35 million.
Yeah.
This is a rhetorical question. Do you have any idea how much costs have exploded on construction projects?
Try me out.
It's bananas.
Right.
And the reason why is a bunch of federal infrastructure money was thrown at a finite amount of people who can perform the work. Right? What has to happen? Prices have to go up. So that's what we're seeing. It's just price inflation due to a finite amount of people who can conduct the work. So I don't care to speculate. The state would be unlikely to fund that. That's my high level. Would we be willing to sit with Mr. Dalton at the town's request? We said we'd work with you. What I can offer is that a preservation and repair is not on the table as part of our salvo here. So we said we'd work with you, we said we'd work hard with you. That's not on the table, a repair job. That having been said, the town requests that we meet with Mr. Dalton. We'll do it, because we're public servants, we'll do it. We spent a ridiculous amount of time talking about your bridge. We did. We spent 3 or 4 working sessions trying to find you a guardrail, trying to avoid putting those inner guardrails. Because the way we see it, you have a nice bridge where you can walk across both sides. Yay, oh, look, over that side, over this side. We are bending over backwards to find you a wood rail that we don't have to give you inner rails on. We've made some progress. Point being, we're trying. That's all. I don't have anything else to offer.
Before anybody else speaks, hold on.
Just did theirs a couple years ago.
Peter, can you come to the microphone? So yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that. I know the yacht club just did their pier a couple of years ago, and I don't know if they use. I know a wooden pier that lasts, and I don't know if the boards are taking effect of it. The green hearts from South American, they're last 50 years. They cost a lot of money, but that's one thing I don't know if we ever could use to see if the green hearts that have been put in, if the boars are attacking. The other thing they do all around the country too is wrap all your wooden pilings with PVC. PVC or EPDM black membrane. It's just it's a roof membrane that wraps around it, and you hit it with roofing nails, copper roofing nails. You bang it to close up the sheet. You overlap it, and they're going up to the +2 ties. You'll see that all over the country, and that is slowing down boar infestation for people that can't afford to rip down bridges. They just want to save what they have. It's called black EPDM roof membrane or PVC. It's usually like 40 mils thick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we have somebody speak again, is there anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet, and who wishes to do so? And Nancy, do we have anybody online raising their hands? Okay. Go ahead, Christine.
I just wanted to say, I understand that the MassDOT said they're going to cooperate with us, and they just said that they can't take requests from residents to speak to them. But I did ask them to talk to Peter in June, and they could not. Then, secondly, I think that another issue here is that if we're going to follow Peter's suggestion, we have to find a way to get the bridge in some sort of structure where we can use private procurement. I think that would cost the town a lot less. It would be difficult to do, but we have to find some way to, if we did that, I think the cost would go way down. I will also say, though, that I have been told from sources familiar with the state that what we're doing, even based on what the state is paying for piling, is way too expensive. I mean, like 6 times the cost of what the state is paying for something similar. So what I'm saying there is I support Peter's idea, and I think it's probably more financially feasible than we realize.
Thank you.
Also, I think
Right to the microphone, please, Mr. Dalton. Right to the microphone, please.
People at home can't hear you.
I haven't spoken to the individual, but I believe we have an oyster nursery north of the bridge too. And also the other boat owners and real estate people that live on the north side of the bridge that have piers and boats there. How are they going to get through this construction if there's booms on both sides of the bridge? Where do they take their personal boats, and where do they bring them? Plus, I have family on the other side of the bridge. The kids take their bikes across the bridge to go to the maritime school every day. I don't want them going through Marshfield, up Route 3A, and coming around town to go to the Maritime School. And people in Marshfield, what I'm hearing too, they don't want all that traffic backed up on their streets, waiting to get into the beach. If we shut down that bridge, we need that money from those beach stickers to keep that barrier beach restored for all the coastal properties in Duxbury. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Judith Kiplinger, Pilgrim Byway. I just had a couple of questions about, it's been mentioned, does Duxbury want this bridge? Like, do the residents of Duxbury want their bridge? It's on our letterhead. It's on our town hall letterhead, right? The wooden bridge. And as Amy said, it's been here for decades and decades. So aren't we willing to try to save it? If we have 60% of the bridge viable, and we're talking about a process, we're talking about pilings that are as though they were driven yesterday below the mud line. And there is a process that is possible. And I've listened to Peter detail it. Why would we not pursue that? And why doesn't the town know that this is happening? Because they don't. I think that's really shocking. It is a feature of our town. If you look up Duxbury, Massachusetts and on Google and you go to images, all you will see is the wooden bridge. So you guys are supposed to be speaking and acting on behalf of the residents of this town. And I think if we did a survey, we put a thing in the Clipper and said, how many people in Duxbury would be willing to advocate and potentially finance this bridge? I'd like to know what that number would be.
I'd like to know how much it costs for the residents to finance it. That's the big issue, isn't it?
Well, we are in the process of getting those numbers. It requires that we get Peter, Peter has made some suggestions.
But is Peter going to run the project for us? No. But he's making the suggestions. I'm a bit confused. Who's going to run the project on behalf of the town?
Maybe the people of the town are going to have to run the project.
Engineers he's hiring.
I am having 3 engineering firms, tile grouting company and also 2 other companies.
Right. So what's the process by which we get money here in the town?
That's something.
What's the process? Right, we write articles, so basically we'd have to put together articles with an estimate of how much money we need to fund this, right? And we'll go to a March annual town meeting. Is that what you're asking us to do?
I think that has to happen.
Peter thinks it can be done with our annual cost.
And also, it has to be made known to the people that this could mean that we don't close the bridge at all.
Yeah.
The bridge remains open. We save the 60% of the bridge that is good and is viable. Why would we not consider that?
Again, there's facts being thrown out here. Can we just, Sheila and Marco, is 60% of the bridge okay?
I wouldn't say that. I'm not specific.
Can you go to the microphone,
Can you go to
please?
the microphone,
Sorry.
please? There's people, there's stuff being thrown out here, and I just want to make sure that everybody listening here is is 60, okay, the 60% of the bridge is okay. Is that true?
I haven't, done a thorough analysis of the latest inspection report to give you a definitive answer. All I can say is that, speaking to our consultant today, he said that the bridge is deteriorating faster than we can afford to fix it. If we take the funds that the town has allocated annually, $300,000, and I'm going to be asking for more next year.
Yeah.
And we redirect them towards this project, what's going to happen with the continued deterioration? Already at the back of the room, I'm talking to Marco about, I don't know what we're going to do because MassDOT's saying that there's 19 piles you need to address, and we're not sure we have enough money to address 4 of them this fall. So I'm not trying to discredit this idea, If the town thinks that's worth pursuing, certainly bring that forward. I did ask our engineer, because I've only been working for the town just under 2 years, so I don't have the full history of the bridge and what the town has done in the past. But I asked, is the source of the problem boar infestation? And he told me that as far as SGH has been involved, he said early on that SGH had proposed to do an investigation to see what exactly was going wrong with the bridge. The town did not pursue that, a thorough investigation at the time. I don't know what happened prior, maybe there was a study. He thought, yes, there's boar infestation. He also said that it's likely freeze-thaw is involved. He said he thinks it's a complicated, multi-factor series of issues going on. It's likely not just one thing. And it's, there's other repairs that we do in addition to the piles. We do a lot of shim repairs of repairs. So I think we just need to bear in mind, I think if the town wants to pursue this idea, we should continue to invest money in what we're doing now to try to limp along. And it's limping along. I don't know how long we will continue to be able to keep up with it. It's looking like we're kind of reaching a breaking point in the near future where, just to give everyone a heads up, there's a good chance that there will be at least partial lane closures, if not something more severe in the future.
Hold on, I think Cindy, did you have something? I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, I'm just really concerned that people are throwing out ideas and quote-unquote facts without the ideas, without any idea of how much things are going to cost, facts without anything to substantiate them, and I'm specifically talking about the cost of our pilings that we're paying much more, and somehow we're doing that where everybody else can get it for much cheaper. Well, who's saying that? And show me the facts. I'm interested. If that's in fact true, then let's get to the bottom of it. Let's figure out how we can pay less. But and this new idea may have a lot of merit, but how much is it going to cost? And how are we going to finance it? We're not talking a couple $100,000, we're talking millions of dollars. And we are faced in Duxbury with already cutting essential services all over town. And yet we're making this idea that we might want to spend millions on something that we love. I grew up in this town. I love that bridge. But I would much rather have my police, my fire, my nieces and nephews educated, the DPW being able to clear the roads after storms. I mean, on and on. I just want to take that a step back and really think about the consequences, what this would really mean, and are we willing to even pursue that? That's all.
Thank you. Amy?
I was having similar thoughts as Cindy, and she articulated them very well. I think that the idea of this, I forget what you called it, but basically using pouring something on top of under the mud line pilings, whatever. Maybe we don't know what the difference in the cost of that is to the sister piling scenario that we're undertaking now. So while this may be a great option, and we should explore it, I don't think that this should be as adversarial as it seems to be. It seems like we have a lot of great people, as usual, who are willing to donate their thoughts, their expertise, their time, that we've got groups and committees that have been working on this. We have the state here who's saying, we'll work with you. If you don't like what we're proposing, you can walk away. I see this as a lot of opportunities that we should try to all kind of work together and get the best project. Maybe it'll fail with the state, and we'll be right back to having to figure out how to do something on our own or fund it, or in the meantime, the bridge may not be, accommodate cars and people will have to drive around and that'll be the outcome. I don't know, but I do think that we should try to understand that we're all working towards the same goal and try to, if we can get help from the state and the feds in any way, if we can, in a project that we can all agree to, we should try to do that. But let's try to, work together.
You had mentioned SGH. Are you referring to Simpson Company in Hager?
Yes.
They're one of our competitors, but I was just wondering who you're dealing with over there, if you could tell me later if that's, maybe
Yeah.
you'd be interested in this.
Our primary contact is Chuck Barnes. I can certainly
Chuck
put you in
Barnes,
touch
yeah.
with him. Just to, I do have the bid canvas from January 5th, 2024, when we didn't have enough money, where we had to postpone the project, and we had 4 bidders at the time. The sister pile item, the low bidder bid $32,500. Then we had a $35,000.
That's per piling?
Yes.
32.5?
35,000,
35.
50,000, and then 36,000. This most recent round of repairs we did, that bid opening was November 20th, 2024, and we did the repairs this past winter. The sister piling cost was 35,000. We had only 1 bidder. So again, we go with the lowest responsible bidder, the public procurement, Massachusetts procurement process. So the piling, the sister piling repairs, the cost we've seen is pretty consistent. One of those contractors that Mr. Dalton referred to, Robert B. Auer, showed up at one of our pre-construction meetings. They didn't end up bidding on the project, but they had shown an interest in the project. So a couple of these people you're talking about are contractors that would bid on the project. So my question becomes, who is doing this study? What engineering firm is doing this study?
They're reputable companies. I've worked with them, the Big Dig and things like that, tunnel work and, things like that. Let me ask you a question. Who did the most recent mock-up of the hot dip galvanized columns, if you will, to the underside of the deck with a shim pack there? It's a hollow column based on they cut the existing piling, used it as a caisson. They put a base plate down there. They had 2 clip angles that are welded from the clip angle down to the base plate with weep holes on both sides of it. I asked Ed, he wasn't aware of it. Somebody was down there doing this mock-ups. Mock-ups are, for whatever reason, they were done. Was it a visual? What was the reason for those?
When was this?
This last,
no idea, but they're there.
they're there. We're down there last week. They're done.
So I
Somebody
just want to
worked on the
stress
bridge?
to people,
bridge, yeah.
I
Nobody
know
seems to know.
that, again, everyone has good intentions. This is public infrastructure. Please do not, I'm not saying that happened. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but please don't poke and prod our infrastructure without us being aware, being present, having our engineers there. This is very important infrastructure. It's already in precarious condition. The town needs to be aware of any work that's being done.
Absolutely.
This was just all
Okay.
visual.
Marco,
Marco, go ahead.
you were,
Yeah, we are doing exploratory work. We're communicating to Rainey, Sheila, and the Duxbury Beach Reservation. We're taking exploratory borings. We have to. It's not affecting the bridge. It's just if we advance, we need to know about the subsurface conditions. Also putting tidal gauges up. We need to know the behavior.
Yep.
So know that things are happening. They're not significant. They're just exploratory.
But who did the columns? The new
Vatican's.
Remy, do you know who did those?
No,
So just of late, somebody was underneath the bridge constructing these
I do-
dip galvanized steel
I do not know.
columns.
is this, Sheila's looking really perplexed.
Where on the bridge? It was with me,
This is something
Frank, rather.
recent
Yeah, recent. We were just down there the other day.
Where is it on the bridge?
It's on the east end.
So it might be.
Because I have photos if you want to see them on my phone.
By the water line?
Yeah.
The high tide line?
Allow me to find out, because it might be associated with the boring operations that are permitted and taking place, right? But let's get you answers, at least from our side, that nobody's going crazy here.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
But I thought it was quite interesting, you were using kind of my idea to cut it off at the mud line and use that as a caisson for this mock-up to be done, and no one knows who did it. Oh. Ed and I didn't know Since nobody knows why it was done.
Thank you. Other, just, Mr. Grant, just a second. Other questions or comments from the board before we?
No.
Yes, Mr. Grant, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger Grant again. I just wanted to, I guess, reiterate a point I made earlier. I would really like to see a serious study of repair versus replace. I don't know why that is so elusive. I don't know why the state couldn't do that, even though they can't repair. They could give us a serious study of the alternative to repair or replace. It seems like enough questions have been raised that it's incumbent upon us as caretakers to do that and determine, is it necessary to destroy a at least partially functional structure with a lot of value, or is there a way to repair it, even though it's not conventional engineering? It's not steel pilings and steel frame. That's what, engineers, DOT, that's best practice, but I think we have a unique situation, and I hope the select board will consider that, and there must be a way to get a serious study of a repair versus replace. So please, I ask you to do that as citizen. Thank you.
It might be a prerequisite.
Marco's got something?
Yeah, that's,
Yes, we do have a preliminary structures report. Let me pull it and provide it to, because we do have to consider all the alternatives before we advance with the project. So let me get that for you.
Yes, please.
That will be available to all of us.
yeah,
I don't see why not. Yeah.
It's a public document, yes.
public document, if we get it.
Preliminary study stuff, but I'll get it for you. I mean,
Okay.
There's no reason not to.
Good. Thank you.
To us, boring stuff, we do them constantly, but I'll see, I'll either provide it to them or post it to the website. I don't see why not. I'm just not going to commit to it at the moment.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board?
Questions for the DOT?
Maybe do they need to be done in public? Or can you?
No,
Because I'd
right
like to
here,
move this
right here.
along. I think
Real
we.
quick, just real quick.
All right.
If we do go over the concrete overlay on top of I'm sure a membrane, right? We're doing concrete, asphalt, concrete?
Yes.
And if you-
We're proposing we're not proposing asphalt for aesthetic reasons. We're currently not proposing asphalt. We're currently proposing concrete. Basically, is we think you will like the way it looks better, rather than black asphalt, textured concrete of some sort, in some way. So that's the current proposal, but that's part of the conversation.
And how would you support that concrete deck, concrete placement pour?
So we are currently proposing.
Decking?
No, the current proposal for the substructure elements are concrete next beams. I don't know if you're familiar with them. So it will be a next beam deck. We're really getting in the weeds here. But it's
good.
it's a closed, wish I had a little sketch pad. Not a box, a T. T's that touch each other. And they are concrete, so they are impervious, and then a wearing surface on top of that.
With control joints and expansion joints on the
Correct,
surface.
as needed. Right. Not very frequent, but.
Peter, can you do me a favor, right? Why didn't you apply to join the PowerPoint Bridge Advisory Committee? Because it seems like you're really passionate about
I
this.
just retired June 19th. After
Oh, right.
55
But
years
you
in
sound
the
like
IT group, and
you've got a
that's
lot of
about it.
energy,
Yeah.
tonight. Why not speak with Ed Mayo and see if you can join the PowerPoint Bridge Advisory Committee
Or you
and roll
can-
up your sleeves and help us work with it?
Yeah.
Or
Put
you
you
can
right on the
just-
committee.
Last meeting and spoke for an hour.
Yeah,
Well,
and on the
yeah,
concrete,
really?
there's a lot of concrete repairs on the Mass Pike extension we've done in the past. There's certain type of rebars, number 5 rebars, epoxy coated rebars, all that stuff that rust and salt water play havoc.
That's right.
You know
I will
that.
just offer this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are willing to work with a small group of town representatives
Yeah.
at your all's discretion.
Yeah,
Whomever you choose to send us, we will
Right.
work with frequently,
perfect.
and that's on you as to who you want to send.
Okay,
I'm
got it.
not going to tag you specifically. You seem like you're done.
I do think it would have been
Being super
helpful to
involved,
have
but
this
We are
mock-up
willing to work with
drawing,
whomever.
as
It's your
Roger
discretion who you
pointed
want to
out.
send us.
Yeah,
It would have been helpful. to
excellent.
see
Thank you,
that
Marco.
tonight.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Something that Marco and I had discussed long before this meeting was the next meeting that DOT will be hosting at the schools, which I think we're slated for sometime in October, or is it November? Did we pick a date? I can't remember.
Yes, so we've engaged the services of this architect. She wants to do 2 rapid-fire meetings 1 month apart. The first one in the school cafeteria with tables that people can come to where we listen more, where she listens more. Right now, engineers have primarily listened, not special architects. She wants to come and listen. 1 month later, we want to come back and show you echoes of what you said to see if we're in the neighborhood of what you're interested in. In parallel, whomever you select to work with us will be with us in those conversations as we're going along. So there'll be no surprises to the people who we work closely with. And our ideal is on that second month, so not October, but November, that it would be a joint presentation between DOT and whomever you selected to say, hey, guys, this is what we've got on the drawing board. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Nice.
I hate it, I love it, I hate
Yep.
this, no way. You get the idea.
Which brings me back to the original 3 questions that I had asked at the beginning for the board to decide upon.
Just before you do that.
Please.
Alicia, do you have something to add? If you can introduce
I
yourself,
just
please.
have 2 or 3 points quickly. Alicia Babcock, Ocean Road South. This is obviously a very thoughtful idea, and everybody sounds very interested in it. I think it's always a good idea in situations like this to pause and be thoughtful, and if that means that we ultimately have to close the bridge for a period of time while we're figuring it out, I think that it's worthwhile. It's a landmark for our town, and it's very important to a lot of people. And I think if it went to an article and we asked to appropriate money, I think that I wouldn't be surprised that we would get overwhelming support to save something that's so important. I would also like to mention that I walk that bridge often, and just over the weekend, I did notice a few plates from out of state that were speeding over the bridge, probably ignoring the sign or not knowing. And for the first time ever, I saw someone make a U-turn in the middle of the bridge. So I'm sure that's not helping. But asphalt, I agree, I think would only make that problem worse. People would be speeding. The other point I'd like to make is that we have on occasion talked about asking Plymouth to contribute because we give them all of our services. And I think that they have not contributed anything to any of these repairs. And I don't know how we would go about that, but it's time. It's past time that we get some contribution from Plymouth to help fund at least these interim repairs. They should be contributing. And then the last point I want to make is it possible, as Peter mentioned before, when the bridge gets closed, people will have to drive around. And as we know, Gurnett Road is not in great shape. It's on the list. It's one of the top things next on the list, I think, for the town. It needs to be lifted. It needs to be fixed. It's very important. And if we're going to be relying on that road, for a solid amount of time while the bridge is getting repaired or it's closed, I am wondering if DOT could somehow wrap that into the cost of the bridge and repair that for us, since, we need to provide a safe way year-round to access all of the homes in that area, and also for DBR to get out there and do what they have to do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rainey?
So, at the beginning, if the board's interested, 3 things were needed to be contemplated: whether to keep or cancel the project, whether or not to appeal the non-historic designation, the Section 106, and discuss hiring a 106 consultant. And the 106 consultant, the town has actually received some funding for that purpose. And I think there may be, that we've received gifts to that end. But yeah, so whether or not to cancel the project, appeal the non-historic designation, Section 106, and hiring a consultant. Those are the things we were hoping to
Can I just
figure
ask
out
one
tonight.
last question?
I
didn't know that you had
going to add
closed.
something, or have we already talked about it?
I don't think anyone has asked this question.
Go right ahead.
But Marco had said if at any time, we weren't happy with it, that we could cancel it. What does the "we" mean? How do will residents be asked to vote or say whether or not?
I assume it's we, and we work at the pleasure of the residents of the town. So we are really you.
You are correct. In fact, Marco said that at the very beginning.
I still am not following, so
Select board.
would that be?
Select board.
Select board, we are your elected representatives.
Okay, so the design would be shown to you guys, and you would be the final say. That's what I
No,
don't
no, no,
understand.
no, 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 no.
We're gonna
There's
share
going to be, there's going to be meetings. You can turn up, right, Marco? There's going to be in September and October,
But
November.
is it going to be a vote that the residents can
October,
vote on?
November. A vote of the residents
Why
whether
not?
they like the design or not?
Yeah,
Yeah, public forum, yeah.
okay, all right,
Yeah,
thank
this is
you.
going to be a public forum. You're going to have the opportunity to provide input.
They did another one earlier this summer,
Yeah.
sort of to kick the whole project off.
But I was asking for, in terms of whether the town decides to move forward with their plan, or whether the town decides, people keep talking about the fact that we can back out whenever we want. I want to know, how does that process happen?
Through your representatives here on the board.
Yeah.
But can we have a special town meeting and cancel it ourselves?
At that point, it would be a,
So the question for everybody at home was, can we have a special town meeting
Yep.
to cancel it?
yeah, there's a term for that. It's called it's like an opinion of the meeting.
Non-binding.
It's not, thank you, it's non-binding. So the town could decide to have a special town meeting through a citizen's petition. There's a cost to that, as you all know. It's
Yeah.
about $25,000 to $30,000 to hold a special town meeting. And there could be other articles there too. And it would be non-binding, and the board would not be obliged to follow that lead.
But let me say this. Let me say this, please. We all donate our time up here, and you elect us to speak on your behalf. That's our job. We are going to listen to you. We are going to want to hear what the opinions of the residents are, and that's our role. So I don't understand the mistrust here. We haven't, there's no, you elect us to sit up here and help. So I guess I'm trying to, I think that we all have the best interests of the town at heart.
Here, please, the microphone, thank you.
It wasn't based on mistrust, it was based on what is the process? That was my question.
Okay, so the process will be that we're all gonna work together, and I think, and we're going to keep our options open. At least I'm going to advocate for keeping all of our options open at this point. And then based on what these public meetings bear by way of some drawings and public input and questions and answers, I am very confident that we will get to a place where we decide that, yes, we should move forward in one direction or another.
I think you're about to hear the answer to that as we discuss it right now. Rainey, you outlined three things. My question is, with respect to hiring a consultant,
Yes.
what would that entail in terms of helping us determine whether or not to appeal the non-historic designation on 106? So I'm trying to appreciate what that expert will do for us.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Ed knows, or maybe Marco
Yeah, Ed,
knows,
please.
because that was their proposal, I believe.
So we looked at a number of different consultants. One stands out because of the Chatham Bridge. That was somebody that worked on that with the 106 process and rolled through it, but she's also a bridge consultant for other projects, not just with 106. So the bridge consultant could help us, just like Marco was saying earlier,
Okay.
to finite some of the details, and they know what they're talking about and when it comes to that. And to Rainey's point that he said earlier, somebody has pledged the rest of the funds for what we were looking for to finalize that, so we're all set.
It's subject to
If that goes
procurement,
through.
and we go out and seek quotes, and that's how we do that.
But, okay, so my question, though, is that person, whoever that is, and
Yep.
thank you to everyone who's
Donated.
donated, what does that do in terms of, would that person be our advocate in the meetings with Mass DOT as we're talking about what the bridge is going to look like, following historic
after
features?
tonight, listening to everybody throwing out different ideas, originally it was for being a 106 consultant and going after the 106. That was the main goal of the whole consultant. But now listening to DOT, she could also, or they could also be a go-between, or somebody that actually knows what they're really talking about, can work with us and the DOT and kind of be like a middleman.
Okay.
All right.
And the specifics of that would need to be determined through a scope that presumably the committee would draft, and then at that point, we could turn it into a procurement document and push it out on the street and have people submit quotes for responses.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we do sole source engineers, right?
Yes.
Why can't we use the same sole sourcing option for the consultant engineer? The
Because-
person's an engineer, right?
No,
Is an architect?
No, it's a historical bridge consultant.
those are not exempt from state procurement, only engineers and architects.
Oh, engineer and architects, okay, it's not, the person's not an architect, okay.
Nope.
All right,
So
thank you.
I don't
May I
think,
just
It's a
confirm?
preservationist,
Yeah,
basically.
all right, thank
Yeah,
you.
they're not exempt.
engineers with a P stamp next to their name.
Yeah,
go ahead, Amy.
Can we confirm that your committee voted in favor of the consultant?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mike?
Really, can I finish up and leave?
No, you're not leaving yet, Peter.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
There's 550.
Sorry.
No, just a
Sorry.
second. Wait, Mike.
I apologize.
So funding's important for our job up here.
Yeah.
So if we vote positive for consultant hiring, how are we assured that taxpayer dollars will not be required to pay for this consultant?
I would talk to Ed and figure out what the funding sources are, and then what would happen is those checks or the money would be accepted by the vote, would be presented to the board.
Yep.
You would vote to accept it, and then at that point, once we have the funding in place, then we can go do the procurement. We
Okay,
can't
so
do it
there'll be a
beforehand.
secondary vote here on
Yes.
that.
Yep.
And if for some reason the funding, private funding falls through, we'll have to address it.
Correct.
At that point in time.
Okay, that's what it was.
Mr. Dahl, do you have something to add? Because I'd like to make some progress up
Real
here.
quick, there's 550 pilings. We mentioned 14 of them should be replaced sooner than later, right?
19.
There's 5 that are in a row, then another 5. They're relatively close to each other. I don't think with the remaining piles that are there, hundreds and hundreds of them, that the bridge is going to fall down when we only need 14 replaced at this time. The other thing, next time you want a meeting, it was entered into the Clipper on a Wednesday that the meeting I went for Ed was Friday morning at 9 o'clock. I think the group needs more of a time frame to get ready to get together instead of a day and a half, 2 days. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Peter?
Yes.
You need to join the Powder Point Bridge Advisory Committee. You can't, you got to be part of the team. You can't be, basically a Monday morning quarterbacking, Peter. You got to join the team. You've got to join the team, Peter.
Their
Did you have
membership is
something else?
full.
No, I agree with.
Cindy, did you have
Fernando.
something? I want to make sure we don't forget about Cindy.
Yeah.
Nancy did say somebody had their
Yes.
hand up.
It was not me. Mike Count up here had his hand up.
Yeah.
It was not me. I'm all set.
All right, there's a hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I can
Please introduce
Mike Count.
yourself.
appreciate just a minute to provide my opinion here as a resident of the town.
Yeah, can you introduce
Yeah,
yourself,
Mike
please?
Count, 1 Arrowhead Road, on the Board of Health, here representing myself. I've been in private consulting for over 20 years for marine construction. Worked on a number of pile-supported pier projects, wood, steel, you name it, over the past 20 years. And just wanted to give my opinion as a resident and someone who's interested in seeing, the town put their best foot forward. I do want to commend the state just for working with us, offering us $170 million to keep our bridge open and to redesign it safely to current standards. That's a thing. The wood on the bridge right now is 40 years old, at least. As an engineer, I'm not a structural engineer. I don't claim to be. But if we're talking about replacing bridges, even if it's above the intertidal zone and the wood's in decent shape, I mean, it's still 40 years old. So that's eventually going to have to get replaced if it's not replaced as part of this project. If we decide to just Band-Aid the pilings underneath the deck of the bridge, that's something that we would need to know the depth of the ledge. That would require soil borings into the ledge, at least 5 to 10 feet. It sounds like the state has already scheduled that. It's already been taking place. Additional borings have been done. Those are huge costs to the town if we just say, yeah, you know what, let's cancel this project. And, the state just has their agenda. Everyone has their own agenda. We can't trust anyone. I mean, I think we need to, just take a little bit of a reality check here and talk about, you know, wood pilings for a second, I'm happy to do that. You know, wood pilings are only as long as you can get trees to grow. If anything is over 80 feet long, chances are you're gonna need a steel piling. You know, to come out here and say those wood pilings are perfect below the mud line, how can you say that if you haven't had ultrasonic testing done and know the exact length of those pilings under the mud line? So I just commend, you know, board and, you know, all the different committees for, you know, putting their best foot forward. And, you know, if what the town decides is they want to replace the bridge in kind, that's easy enough to get a contractor out there, say, replace this in kind, what do you need from us? And they may say, show me all the borings, tell me all the pile lengths, tell me the tip elevations, are we tying into ledge? You know, other than that, if it meets Mass DOT standards and they're okay with what's out there right now to last the next 100 years as far as layout goes and safety for cars, for pedestrians, for electric bikes, what have you, then great. But I mean, there's new standards that develop over time, you know, over the course of decades to ensure public safety. And I think, you know, that also has to be taken into account, you know, when we're looking at replacing a historic structure. Granted, it's beautiful, you know, but it needs to be replaced. And I think we need to just consider the facts at hand before we say, should we cancel? That's a pretty bold question, in my opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to get a consensus of the board. Who'd like to start? I have some thoughts of my own.
Sure. On the hiring a consultant?
On where we go from here, because we have three issues to address tonight. Whether to appeal the non-historic designation, whether we want to hire the consultant, and whether we want to cancel the project.
Which one would you like to start with, Mr. Chair?
I'm happy to defer to you. Do you have a suggestion?
Well, let's start with the big one, cancel or not
All right.
cancel.
Yeah, cancel or not cancel. I don't see any benefit to canceling at this point. I think we should all work together and keep our options open and hear what our options are.
I agree.
All right. Cindy, anything on cancellation?
Oh, absolutely. I would not vote in favor of canceling the project. I think we have a lot of ability to work together here.
Yeah, I do not support cancelling.
Agreed. Okay. What about the consultant?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I think
I think why not too? I think our two committees have recommended that we do that.
there's some funding.
There's funding? Yeah, why wouldn't we do that?
Agreed.
All right. Yep.
Agreed.
Sounds good to me. And then considering whether to appeal the non-historic designation, the 106.
Yeah, so I think we hire the consultant, we work with Marco and the team, and if we're progressing in a manner that we're all listening to each other and working with each other, and if we don't, at that point, we enact or we go for the 106. So I'd rather wait to see how we progress. And, you know, DOTs certainly have, I appreciate everything they're doing, and let's just get that consultant and then walk the talk, so to speak, right? And if things fall apart, then we enact the 106 review. That's my view.
Yeah, I guess I don't, I think it sounds like there may be benefits to doing that. I'm not sure I got a clear understanding as to what those benefits are. I am hoping, though, that, you know, on thinking the way Fernando is that we can do that at any point in the future. I certainly would rather do it sooner rather than later if we're going to do it and get it going. And hopefully that will become clear, as Mr. Grant pointed out, you know, having some rendering, seeing a picture, getting a visual on what could happen, I think is going to give us a really good indication as to whether we need to take that step.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll be early October is what I'm hoping.
Yeah. And my only question, and I agree wholeheartedly with this approach, and I think, you know, just reading between the lines here, that the idea of using maybe this consultant as kind of a go-between, if that falls apart, I think we can address that at a later date. But I want to make sure we're okay with that. So I don't know if there's a way we can find, I live in a world of time standards. I want to make sure we're not foreclosing any appeal for the 106. Like, I don't know how long we have until it's been declined.
No
So
idea.
I think that's.
Can't get a clearance on that.
Okay, if there's no clear, but if we can get that from somebody, great. If we can't, then I think it's an open-ended appeal.
What was the answer? I'm sorry, what was the answer to the
That-
appeal?
There is,
Lang?
we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
But maybe in time for our next meeting, we can get that answer so that this board can take it up again if need be.
Exactly.
You'd have to
That's
ask Ed.
important. That's a good point, Mike.
It's tough with the Department of Interior right now.
Yeah.
They're
Well-
doing a lot of shifting around, so that was the part of the problem.
Sorry, if you don't
I
mind,
don't
sorry,
care.
Ed, it's so that people can hear what you're
Yeah,
saying,
Cindy can't
sorry.
hear you.
Like Marco was saying earlier, the Department of Interior is doing some shifting at the federal government level, so people that were there are no longer there, or somebody's passed away, and getting any answers out of them has been more than difficult.
But there's no statutory or regulatory language that says you've got X days from the
It's when they get to
determination?
it.
Okay.
But when did we get to it? When do we have to get to it?
I don't know.
That's the question.
That was my
Cindy, is
question.
How long do we have to appeal? And there doesn't seem to be a clear answer.
There is
as
no
to
clear answer.
what the
I've
time
been doing it
period
for
is.
months.
So let's keep an eye on it, is all I'm saying.
Right.
Right.
The consultant would be able to tell us that.
Yeah,
So,
there we go, thank you.
I just-
Let's hire the
ahead, Mike.
consultant.
so,
Mike, and then,
Oh, great.
oh,
There
Yeah,
is
go ahead,
no
Kurt.
time frame.
there is no time
There's no
frame.
time limit between the Massachusetts Historical Commission's answer and appealing.
okay.
Excellent.
Oh, good, all right.
All right, we're
Thank
good to
you.
go. Thank you.
The other thing, it wasn't posted, and I think maybe we'll have to take this up in our next meeting, is DOT is looking for some direction from us, our board, as to who should be at the table. And we've had multiple people here talking. There's folks on the committee and also on the Historic Commission. I think we need to take that up separately.
I
And if people want
I'll
to,
put it on the next agenda.
and if people want to be, I don't know if there's a better way of presenting that, but I don't want to just voluntold people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do it separately.
But we put together a PowerPoint Bridge Advisory Committee.
But it's up to us.
Specifically for that purpose, right? I thought it was.
Yeah,
in
we
the-
should get
This could
some
be
advice.
from what Marco has been telling me,
Yeah.
it should be 5 people, no more than 5, and it could be a different composition, because one of those people might be the consultant that we someday hire.
Okay.
Right,
So
okay.
let's put
All right.
that over to the next.
It's five people, and Peter's one of them.
That's called voluntolding.
Well,
You may want your DPW director on that
I
as
would think
well.
the DPW
Yeah.
director as well, Sheila.
Well, let's take this up
Put
on.
it on another agenda.
Let's,
for you.
let's discuss it at another
Which will be
meeting.
2
I don't
weeks,
think
right?
we should just be appointing people willy-nilly.
I agree.
Agreed.
Sydney, that was just a joke.
Yeah, we're
Just
not
a joke.
doing that tonight. That was my point.
All right,
Can I speak to the appeal?
yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not clear still, I mean, it was talked about a lot, and I asked some questions about it, but I'm still not clear what the advantage to us would be if we appealed and won. And so now we're a historical bridge. But we still need to meet design standards. So I'm just not still clear on what the benefit would be to us, assuming that we are still working with DOT. And they were, very kindly paying for our new bridge. But I'm also thinking that if we did it ourselves, we still have to meet design standards. So I'm not at all clear in what the appeal would do for us. Beyond, they've hired an architect, we're hiring a consultant, they're open to all conversations, back and forth, and they're gonna do community forums and whatnot. I just, so I would say no, unless I get an idea that what the advantages are to me, and I just don't want to vote on it tonight.
I think we're all in the same boat
Yeah,
with that,
that's-
Cindy. I don't think that it was clear what those benefits were, so I think we're all feeling at least I know I'm thinking the same
For the
way.
time being.
Yeah,
Well,
for
what
the
I think,
time being.
what I think I heard the benefit is at the end, if we win, quote unquote, with whatever this process is, it requires the state to consult, right? Which you've already agreed to do. So
Right. And
I know
they've
there's some
gotten a
nuance there.
consultant, they've gotten their
but-
architect, we're getting a consultant.
Yeah,
So I'm just,
all right.
yeah.
So we're taking no action tonight. We're not making any changes to where the town stood before you walked in here tonight. We're not canceling the project. We're not filing an appeal under 106, but we're reserving our right to do so. And we do want to proceed with hiring a consultant who's going to be paid with donated funds.
That's just what I needed to hear you
Is that what
guys say.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and the next meeting, we need to figure out who the 5 are that will be
And I have that
representing the town.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything further? There's been a lot of discussion tonight. This is a really important issue. This is not going to be the end of it in terms of public participation. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Is there anything else you'd like us to hear at this point before we move on to the next item?
We do have a.
Ed, if you can talk to the microphone.
We do have a Powder Point, we've actually scheduled this, so our Powder Point Bridge Advisory Committee meetings are the 4th Friday of the month, so our next one, I believe, is the 26th.
And where do you hold those?
The McCluskey Room in the Senior Center.
At what time?
No.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
All right.
9 a.m. McCluskey Room,
26th.
The fourth Friday of every month.
the 4th Friday of every month,
Don't you have it on?
except for the day after Thanksgiving. And we have it on Zoom. And we also have it on Zoom, yeah.
Okay, so it's remote as well.
It's remote as well.
Great.
Excellent.
Okay, Marco or Kurt, anything else since we brought you all the way down here, which we really appreciate?
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks for not getting me in trouble tonight. If you canceled, would have been bad.
All right.
Thank you, Marco.
All right,
Thank
thank you
Kurt.
both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
you.
everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
We still have other items to handle. You're welcome
Yeah,
to stick around.
Other interesting items on the agenda.
Please don't leave us. Don't leave us alone.
Take care, Ed.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll see you Friday.
Not a problem.
We still have a meeting going.
We do have a couple of, we haven't adjourned.
We're not done.
Another day, yeah. Or you can stick around.
Stick around another 15 minutes.
We'll be done in 10 minutes.
Yeah. All right,
10
thank you.
minutes.
Next on our agenda is a discussion regarding poll petition request from Verizon/N-Star located at, near 17 Railroad Avenue. Mr. Reed?
You might need that gavel.
Hit the gavel, chief.
All right. Folks, we have more business that we're handling. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed, we're on to the poll petition on 17 Railroad Ave.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Our office received a petition from Verizon New England Incorporated, N-Star Electric, doing business as Eversource Energy, for the following project: near 17 Railroad Avenue. Install one jointly owned midspan pole numbered P1.5 on the west side of Railroad Avenue. The new pole will be installed in line and approximately 115 feet southeast of existing utility pole P2 and approximately 80 feet northwest of existing utility pole P1. The installation is being requested by Eversource to redesign and upgrade equipment in the area and to provide service to the surrounding customers, as well as to provide for the distribution of intelligence and telecommunications and the transmission of high and low voltage electric current. Following a posting of the legal notice published in the Duxbury Clipper on August 27th of this year, an administrative hearing on this request was held at 9 a.m. on Wednesday the 10th in my office. Notifications of the meeting were sent to the abutting property owners by way of certified mail. However, no members of the public or abutters attended the meeting. Following a review of the application with a representative from Verizon and a brief discussion on the proposed conditions of approval, with which the applicant agreed, the hearing was closed. The applicant was advised that staff would be offering a favorable recommendation on the project, and with that, the proposed motion is noted below for the board's consideration.
Any questions from the board?
So this has nothing to do with the new project that's going on Railroad?
It does.
It does?
It has to do with the 40B, right?
Yes.
Is it 40B?
Yeah.
It's the 40B, yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was a friendly. what was
No.
No?
The lip was
That's a
withdrawn.
that's a very different,
Yeah.
I do have a question. I see that the proposed pole will be relatively in line with two existing poles, P1 and P2. This one's going to be P1.5, aptly named. In connection with the development that's immediately behind or to the left, will there be any sidewalk in this area, or either in connection with the proposed development, or I guess the development's underway, or any future sidewalk on Railroad Avenue? Would this pole in any way impact the layout of where a sidewalk could go?
That is a wonderful question that I'm sure, John, I think you can handle that.
Mr. Moore?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Select Board. Town Manager Reed and the Chair. Presently, right now, with this new development going in, we are not really aware of any new sidewalks that would be going in. I believe with this new development that is going in, there will be obviously some kind of a driveway or a pathway to this development. So with that being said, this pole that's being in place, like the Town Manager stated, that it's going to be in line with the current poles that are there now. So the pole 1 and pole 2 that are there now, the reason why they want to put this midspan is because that midspan is a little bit too long. So with the new, say, electric going in for the development, it would be necessary for Eversource to have that pole placed because of the pole load. In other words, the weight of the cables between pole 1 and pole 2 would be too much greater. So the pole load, and of course, only being probably about 5,000 feet from the open ocean, we also have wind load as well. So this is purely for safety only, and also to feed that new development and to upgrade the electric in that out there on Railroad Ave as we speak right now. But as far as sidewalks go, I don't have any knowledge of that whatsoever, to be honest with you.
Mike and then Sheila.
Actually, I'll let you, because
All right.
I'll just to keep on
Go ahead,
this issue,
Sheila.
and then I'll follow.
Yeah, my understanding is that developer was going to extend sidewalk in front of their frontage. It's my understanding that was a condition of their
I've been hearing about a
permit.
sidewalk on that side of Railroad Ave for years.
It makes tons of sense to have
So,
one.
yeah, so we definitely want, and I know that's part of your process, Verizon's process, we want that pole staked out so the developer who's out there, or their contractors out there working, ensures there's room for the sidewalk. We're, just as a heads up, we're also, one of the other conditions we're upgrading the water main to an 8-inch ductile iron, just from Alden to where they're tying into their development, because our master plan showed a deficiency in the water main size there. So we're getting a little bit of a water main upgrade. So you'll see that work happening as well.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
If we're doing water and we're potentially doing a sidewalk, why aren't we putting these wires under the ground with all those wind issues and load issues? Mr. Moore?
So the current aerial of the telephone poles going up and down Railroad Ave, that would require probably further work with the town of Duxbury to do that kind of a work, permitting and things of that nature as well, because that would involve extensive excavation, or what we call a civil plan to go underground, per se, from Railroad Ave or wherever that aerial on Railroad Ave is fed to, whether it's Alden Street or down the street as well. So that's probably why Verizon or Eversource itself has not put into plans to put everything, like, say, per se, on Railroad Ave underground at this moment.
It's essentially a cost issue.
I just
it would
doesn't
definitely be
sound
a
like
cost
they've
issue, yes,
explored it.
It's cost, right? This is the cheapest option, correct?
Nor was it a condition of
Correct.
approval. It would have to be a condition of approval to do that, because we don't have a policy that says you got to go underground. Conditions of approval would dictate whether they're above or below ground. That's either
We don't
had
know
at
what the conditions, Sheila's indicating that the conditions of approval of the comprehensive permit require a sidewalk, which.
At least that's my understanding. Don't hold me to
I would
it.
assume that's typical, that they try to negotiate that in. I don't know, I don't have the plan in front of me. It very well could have something to do with underground utilities. And it does sound like we're gonna be digging up that area in order to replace the water main, so wouldn't this be a good opportunity to bury the utility.
Whose call was that?
What?
To bury,
Bury the stuff.
I mean, who owns it? It's the utility, right?
Yeah, but typically, if they're going to bury a utility line, like I said, very often it's a condition of approval. But if it wasn't a condition of approval, then they'll
Sorry,
go
the
overhead.
condition of approval from,
Whoever issued the 40B permit,
Which
that'd
would
be the
be the
Board of
zoning board of
Appeals.
appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
And I don't know that their conditions of approval ever include those, but I'm just giving you historical context.
Yeah, and for context, all we're talking about tonight is an addition of a pole
Right.
between two existing poles.
Two existing overhead wires.
But don't you think that we should make sure that the placement of the pole before we vote on this is consistent with whatever the permit required? Which was your point.
Yeah, I just
with
don't want it in the middle of a
sidewalks.
future sidewalk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also don't want to foreclose the idea of putting wires underground when we're digging up all this earth, and we have a developer that's doing all this work. He may want it underground for his potential purchasers of units. I mean,
I think if he did, he would have proposed it.
I don't know. We just don't know.
We don't know. We don't have the permit, so I don't feel ready to pull the trigger on this one.
Fine by me.
Could we reach out to the developer and see if he'd want to do this while the ground's getting pulled up?
That's a Sheila question.
With all this work being done, can we reach out to the developer and see if he wants to put everything under the ground so he can have a better looking facade?
We certainly can. I don't know the developer directly, but I'm in direct touch with the contractor on site, so I can reach out to him.
What, and it very well could be, there could be something in the comprehensive permit itself already.
Yeah, there might
We
be.
don't know.
I don't know the details of it. I don't think the pole would necessarily preclude a sidewalk going in. I think there's plenty of right-of-way there.
Well, let's,
Is Woslewski as the municipal services director, he'd know what, we can find out what the conditions of the 40B application are, right?
Oh, we can find that out. No
I
problem.
mean, let's find it out and see what's in there.
We'll roll it up to the next meeting.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm
All right.
hearing. We'll
Yep.
continue this to the next meeting?
Yep.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Sheila.
Moore. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chief Reardon has been waiting
So
patiently.
patient.
The chief had nothing better to do than sit around.
You didn't even have to be here, Rob.
That's right. Well, no, I did ask him a question earlier that I think he's come to share with all of us. But why don't we open this matter? We're discussing the declaration of surplus items for the fire department. So,
Good evening.
Chief, the floor is yours.
I'm Rob Reardon, your fire chief. I'm disappointed. I thought most of the crowd was here for this, but that's okay. So I'll be no more than 20, 25 minutes. So there's 3 items that we're bringing up for surplusing. The first one is a 1988 brush breaker that served our town for 37 years. Did some very good work. It has been replaced. The truck was funded in 2020 is when we went for it. I believe the funding came in 2021. It takes a while now for fire trucks to come through.
Yeah.
So we just got it in service within the last month. So this truck is no longer needed. It is out back. We would like to surplus it, and I believe that we could probably get somewhere between 9 to 12, but we might even get upwards of $20,000 that would come back into the general fund. We'll just have to see where the market is, because some other parts of the country, they might find use for this. Maybe not, but that's what I'd like to do with the first one. The second one is what's called an EMS fire skid unit. It went on the back of our off-road vehicle that we kept down at the beach. It's no longer needed. We got a new one. We got a new one that was done through Senator O'Connor. He got us an earmark, and with that came another unit. So it's another surplus item that maybe it could get us $2,000, I'm not sure. And then finally, the last one is just a small gasoline fan that, probably won't get us $100, but it might. I'm just requesting permission to put those 3 on surplus. Any questions? Yes?
Can you go out of country for surplus? We have all these wildfires up in Canada. Is that something you can put on an auction up there, or is it not allowed by?
So the company that we're using, we found this new company that has been getting very good results, and I'm not going to say that that's not part of it, that they can possibly sell it there. Typically, just so you understand what's happened in previous years, for many municipalities is we trade a truck in and we might get $2,000 to $5,000. This is a new company that's, I'll give you an example. There was a municipality not far from us. They were offered, I believe it was about,
somewhere in the $15,000 range for trade-in, and they put it through this company, and they got $119,000 within 3 days. So that's a company that we're going to try to see how we'll do. So that's why I'm not sure where we'll get. We could get $50,000 for this truck. We don't know. So we'll just have to see how we do.
Excellent. Any other questions?
No, I mean, the chief has explained the reason why they're going in their surplus, so, yeah.
It probably gets about 2 miles to the gallon, right?
It's all right.
Maybe.
Plus nobody,
Maybe about-
That's on a good day.
and I think nobody knows how to drive stick shift anymore as well.
I'll tell you, it's very challenging truck to drive. We have, some talented truck drivers, but it's not easy. I had never driven a stick before I came here. I'm not afraid to say it. And many of our younger people have never driven a stick.
That's right, you have to double declutch on a 1988 International, I know that for a fact.
We've had some double clutch. This one, not necessarily, but again, you have to
You have to
finesse
double
it. You have
declutch,
to know
yeah.
how to drive it, and it's
Yeah.
very difficult.
May I have a motion, please?
We can keep talking.
Let's keep on talking, this is great.
Welcome to Car and
Finally, my
Driver.
Your
chance to
clerk's
get up
the
here.
one.
Who's good? Who has the motion, Pat?
I have the motion. I move that Select Board declare the following fire department items as surplus. Number one, 1988 Maxim /International Brush Breaker, bin number 1HTLFTVN5JH 532464 DT466 Series 1854, 300 gallons per minute pump, 700 gallon water tank. Number two, fire /EMS skid unit, open bracket, small ORV mounted 55-gallon tank and pump with EMS backboard mount, close brackets. Brand, Kimtech, Firelight, transport model FDH203, dimensions 48 inches wide, 55 inches long, and 38 inches high. And lastly, number three, small gasoline-powered fan.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote, which needs to be roll call, starting with Cindy.
Cindy, aye.
Fernando, aye.
Brian, aye.
Michael,
All right, thank you. And Chief, don't go anywhere. I want to congratulate you on a tremendous program on 9/11. This was, how many years have you actually had the program at this point?
We've been doing it for years, but we started the monument on the 20th anniversary, so it's become a little bit bigger, and I think we're seeing more of the citizens come, which is great.
It was a terrific turnout. It was, the program was wonderfully done. The police department was also involved. Speakers besides yourself and Mike Carbone included Senator O'Connor, Representative Sweezy, and Father Bob from Holy Family. Great folks, a great number of folks turned out. They rang the bell for from the truck. It's a really tremendous program, and it's one of the things that really makes our community special, I think, especially where it's been so many years at this point. You continue to do that. So I meant to mention that during open forum.
Thank you. And if I can just say, one of the things that I've noticed since we built that memorial is you don't realize how much it impacts so many of our residents, the deeply personal stories that they bring and tell you. It's unbelievable. There's some just horrific stories of things that our residents have gone through from 9/11. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed, Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob, don't go anywhere just for a sec. I got two quick updates, and I'm going to have him do the third, if you don't mind. The first is the Old Town Hall Employee Survey. Three things. It's coming, it's done, and we look forward to the results. And I want to thank Amy and Cindy and Jeannie for their help getting it squared away. So it's
Oh, it's done already.
what?
It's done?
No, the document, sorry.
It's done.
Oh, all right, I was gonna say,
No,
boy,
the
all right.
the document is done, and we're going to be
Okay.
pushing it out this week.
Okay.
Veteran Service District, the Town of Kingston Select Board approved the idea of doing the MOU, and Mary and I will be meeting with them this week, hopefully Thursday, to get that all squared away. Then I'll bring it back here, everybody will sign, hopefully be happy.
Excellent. Is there anything you need from us to make that happen?
Not yet, no,
Okay.
I will later.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
Do you want to read this one? Sure. Thank you.
That's a big deal with the Veterans District.
If you don't mind, I'm going to let Rob do this one.
Please. Yeah.
Because it's his.
If you can do it from the mics, the folks at home can hear you.
Thank you, Rob.
Your steps.
Figure he's here.
I stuck around. So actually, on 9/11 in the evening, one of our firefighters was at home. In my opinion, she made a very heroic rescue of somebody who needed assistance. I'm going to read what we had sent out.
I sent this on September 12th. The Duxbury Fire Department commends firefighter Jennifer Stratton for her quick actions while off duty during a water rescue on East Monpont Lake in Halifax on September 11, 2025 in the late evening. While off duty, firefighter Stratton sprang into action, kayaking out, jumping into the water, she had her life vest on, to help pull the victim to shore. Her willingness to step forward and assist in a dangerous situation demonstrates the courage, professionalism, and commitment to service that define the fire service. Firefighter Stratton's actions are a reminder that firefighters are never truly off duty when someone is in need. We are proud to have her as a member of our department, and that was signed by me. So she was at home. Many of us listened to the radio scanner. She was listening to Halifax. She heard it. Halifax Fire was launching a boat. They had a problem with their boat. A police officer grabbed the kayak, went out, was trying to hold the woman up. He was struggling. She went out in her own kayak, life vest. Again, very tough to keep the woman up. So she made the decision she needed to get in the water, bring the woman out. So I got a call the next morning early from Halifax Police just saying how appreciative she was. And again, she was off duty when she did this, and we're obviously very proud of her.
And she had served in the color guard that morning.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Yep, she's a member of our honor guard. Yes.
Please give her our congratulations and thanks.
Yes, please.
I will. I know that the Halifax Select Board, I believe, is going to honor her at a future Select Board meeting. I don't have any of the details yet, but I will make sure that I share that with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Please
for
do.
that.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Chief, can I, after the meeting, we're going to finish shortly. Can I just have a couple of words with you?
As much time as you want.
All right, thank you.
Almost my bedtime.
Yeah, almost. I'll be real quick.
That was all I
So
had.
that was it, Randy?
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Do we have announcements?
Nothing.
Nothing, not even our next select board meeting?
Yeah. Oh, it says announcements.
Oh, all right.
I need to put my glasses on.
This.
Yes, I do have an announcement.
All right,
Look,
any
I'll-
cohogs?
No cohogs.
Oh, all right.
The next scheduled Select Board meeting will be on Monday, September 29, 2025, at 6:30 PM in the Muir Room, Town Hall.
May I have
A motion.
a motion?
So moved to
Second.
To do what?
do
what?
To adjourn.
Adjourn. All right,
Second.
motion and second, any discussion? We require a roll call, starting with Cindy.
Cindy, aye.
Fernando, aye.
Brian, aye.
Amy, aye.
Michael, aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Night all.